Settled science isn't science, it's dogma. Welcome to Brothers of the Serpent podcast.
And welcome back, mystery lovers, pill seekers, and conspiratorialists all across the fruited plain. It is Brothers of the Serpent podcast coming to you not live from the 10 by 10 by 10 tangent cube of science, nestled amongst the dusty bones of an ancient seabed high atop the Edwards Plateau. Here we welcome everybody who wants to listen, even the Skerptards. Sometimes. Skerps. Freaking Skerpderps.
Ty was telling me we need to describe that term.
Yeah, we actually do, yeah. We use it all the time. We're like, freaking Skerptards. I was listening to the most recent one, we were talking about the Grail, and you're like, or we were talking about the maps, and I was giving the skeptic view on it, and you were like, yeah, doing no science, skerpderping everything.
That's right, Skerpderp.
Yeah. So, like, the origin of that, first of all, the word skeptic is an old Greek. They had the skepticos, and they were guys that basically they took nothing for certain. They just basically, everything was open to questioning anything, like especially your most cherished beliefs. Like that was their whole deal. Like the things that you think are absolutely probably like totally true.
That's bullshit.
Yeah. They just were open to questioning everything. Like in other words, that nothing was certain. That was the original skeptic. Now modern day skeptics are not that at all. They're line towers.
There are some that are that, but
well, yeah,
the way that the term is used now,
yeah,
it's been,
yeah. They're like, well, I'm skeptical about that. Well, that's the way we use that term just in the definition of it in the lexicon is wrong in terms of the original thing. You know, when you're saying like I'm skeptical of something, is saying people are actually saying like I think that's not true.
Right.
Which is not the same thing as what the original skepticos were doing, which was just be open to question.
They were questioning things that they might actually believe are true.
Right. That's right. And just in general, being open to question. It's not that they went around disbelieving everything. They were just like, if you wanted to say, I want to look at this like long held standard belief, they were like, okay, let's do that. You know?
Yeah, let's question it.
Right. It wasn't blasphemy or heresy, which was heretical in and of itself.
Right. So you're saying nowadays, like, the term skeptic is used for people who are towing the line of the standard model.
That's right.
And so that any other theory that's not the standard model, they're like going and trying to quote unquote debunk it.
Right.
And they're considered a skeptic.
Right.
Like, yeah.
And when people use the word, like they're like, well, I'm kind of skeptical about that. What they're actually saying is I don't believe it, which is that's just not true to the original idea. Yeah. Because really, if it was true to the original idea, you would say, well, I'm skeptical about that. What it would mean is I'm interested and I'm like, I'm exploring it and asking questions. Yeah. That's not what they're doing. They're just like, that's bullshit. That's basically what they're saying when they're saying I'm skeptical.
Yeah. So we did the sort of South Park, Turker thing to it.
Well,
Skerpderp.
That's right. I didn't think of the South Park, but there's also the internet way of like making the retard noises, herpderp.
Yeah, herpderp.
Yeah, and so that's what it is. Basically, you're skerpderping. You're like being a retard skeptic. Yeah, herpderp mixed with skeptic is skerpderp.
And skerptard.
Yeah, just to make it clear what we're talking about, we take the derp off the end and just make it tard. So Skerptards are the people that are doing it. Skerpderping is what they're doing. Skerptards, Skerpderp.
That's right.
The Skerpderp is the verb version.
That is a sentence.
That's right.
Skerptards, Skerpderp.
That's right. Shit, that is. That's right.
End of sentence.
End of sentence, period.
Complete.
And it's really useful. Actually, I was up at the top talking to the old parents, and I was explaining that same whole thing I just explained. I explained it to Mom, and like she starts using it. She's like, "Yeah, I really like that term, Skerpderp. It's useful." I'm like, "Yeah, it is." Because you're like, yeah, they were just Skerpderping, and you're like, of course, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I've been throwing it around on Reddit too. Like all the people in the missing 411 subreddit know Skerpderp now.
Spread it around, bro.
Yeah, because like they were posting, somebody posted like something in this, what is it called? The Skeptical Inquirer. It's like an online magazine that these quote unquote skeptics publish. Michael Shermer's in charge of that or whatever. And like it was about the missing 411 thing or whatever. And you could totally tell, like when you read the article, that the guy who was writing it had never read any of the books, had not even listened to any of the interviews, because he's asking questions like, what is this about? And like if you listen to one interview, you would have the answer to that question. So I was just telling him, I'm like, so he's obviously Skerpderping. And they're like, what? And I'm like, Skerpderping, like pretending to be a skeptic while being retarded.
Where did the whole debunk come from? Because what I remember is like back in the day, like, oh, that's bunk.
Yeah.
Which meant that was, it was crap. It was bullshit.
Yeah.
But then it's like, well, we're going to debunk this. Oh, so you're going to make it true? Or?
Yeah, no, it's a weird way to
I hate that freaking
because
debunkers.
And let's be clear.
They're a bunch of Skerpderping.
That's right.
Freaking Skerptards.
Let's be clear, like debunking is not disproving. Because anything can be basically what debunking means is you confuse the fucking issue, basically. That's what it's all about. I mean, like, people don't think that's what it means, but that is what it means.
But genuinely, it should mean to present another argument, right?
Right.
To present an opposing argument.
Well, yeah, but what people who are debunkers are doing, they're not presenting opposing
they're, quote
arguments.
unquote, proving that it's wrong.
Right. They're trying to dismantle confidence in some argument by confusing the issue. Like, they'll go in and nitpick on stuff, like ridiculous things like grammar, or there was one guy, I can't remember who this was, but he was saying like, you can debunk anything can be debunked. Like, that's why it's not a valid thing to do. He was like, I can debunk that. Like, I can sit there and take video from the most recent big football game or whatever. It's some play, and take video from that play, and I can sit there and do all the same shit that like skeptics do when they're like debunking a UFO video. I can do all those same tactics or whatever to that freaking football video that millions of people watched, and that millions of people were actually in the stands watching or whatever. Not millions, but thousands. And I can do all that same shit and cast the same doubt on that video using these same debunking techniques that like, oh, look, like there's this weird video anomaly that happens in slow motion when the guy's going, and so you can say like that makes it fake. The whole thing was fake, right? It was all freaking manufactured, and none of this really happened. And it's not a disproof, right, which is what people think it is. It's just like, you're looking for things to like be able to cast doubt without actually disproving anything.
Yeah.
So anything can be debunked, which means debunking something is worthless, right?
Right. The first time I really thought about it, I had just finished watching all of the Ancient Aliens freaking seasons. And I was telling a buddy of mine about it. And he was like, oh yeah, dude, like, have you seen the Ancient Aliens debunked on YouTube? And I was like, no. Yeah. How long is it? Like, what? It's like, wait a minute. They debunked the whole. It's like, yeah, it's like an hour long or something.
You're like, well, there's 60 hours of Ancient Aliens.
It's like, how do they debunk the entire freaking series in an hour? Like, what?
Yeah, they got in there and said, obviously this is wrong because aliens didn't do that. And just like.
I never watched it, so I'm guilty of the same because my friend had never actually watched the Ancient Aliens.
Right.
But I didn't go watch the debunk video because I was just like, that's bullshit. You can't. They're not saying anything. They're asking questions.
Yeah. I haven't watched the debunk thing either. Just like I haven't gone to like sitchiniswrong.com because I know what they're doing.
Yeah.
It's like you can spend all this time trying to research their freaking debunk, and then like I did this stuff with the moon hoax people. Right, I read every one of their arguments, and then I went and looked at the sources they were talking about trying to claim the whole thing, and I'm like, and I worked on that, and I like, and then I tried to give them counter arguments, and they don't care. And then I did it with the people that were claiming that, Baalbek was totally built by the Romans, and that I did the same thing. I went and read all the relevant papers, and then I was like presenting arguments, and I was like, okay, this is clear. And like I'm presenting arguments, and they don't care about the facts. Like they have their preconceived idea, and like they'll reference papers if that is useful to them. But as soon as you go read the paper and see the weaknesses in it, then they don't want to talk about the paper anymore. They want to talk about something else because they're not really interested in the facts, which is like, I think that's what is the commonality between all this stuff. People that debunk, the people that claim to be skeptics or whatever. I mean, like, that they have they have like annual skeptical convention. That must be really boring. I mean, like, I doubt that it even happens.
Yeah, I mean, that's bullshit. They don't do that.
But you know what it looks like? If you look at the pictures from it, it looks like, okay, you're familiar with Randi, right?
I don't know.
The guy that fucking has the $1 million prize or whatever the fuck.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember his full name right now, but he's basically, and people, they love to use that. Like, well, if it's real, then how come no one's claimed the prize? And I'm like, that's why the prize exists.
Well, explain the Randi thing.
Yeah, so he's a magician, first of all, like a stage magician, okay? He practices sleight of hand. Think about that for a while. Okay, and he somehow became the community of Skerptards, like they sort of made him their
like skirt boss or whatever.
Yeah. He's like he's like the top. Somehow he's like, I don't know. I guess he popularized the methods of Skerpderping.
He's the Skerptan.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, hail the Skerptan.
Yeah. The Skerpticor. Well, yeah. So, okay, James Randi is his name. And yes, he hosts a freaking skeptical conference. I don't know if they do it every year or whatever, but they've had him. And dude, it literally looks like okay, so the old videos you see of like where there's emperors or there's some leader or whatever, and there's just these gigantic, massive tapestries that have just their head. That's what you see. I mean, like, it's giant James Randi freaking tapestries hanging from, they're red with his freaking, and he's like, beard, white beard or whatever. And I'm just like, okay, that looks fucking creepy. First of all, like, I'm going to go to the skeptical convention, but really what it's about is a hero worship of this guy and these people, these kids and other Skerptards are like worshiping Randi because he's been so effective in like trashing all these people they think are idiots, people that believe in spirits or ghosts or aliens or whatever. Like, he's been effective in that. And it's because he's good at sleight of hand, which is why debunking is it's bullshit. It's all about that. It's tricking people, right? And so one of the first things Randi did was he posted this, and he did it official. So it's the deal where, when you post a reward for something, you put it in bond so that people can see that it's actually there and it's a real reward. Yeah. Like when somebody goes missing and they offer $25,000 for any information, if they're doing it legit, they put that money in a trust or whatever, and it becomes public information,
right?
So that you can verify the money. So there is $1 million. Okay. The Randi Foundation or whatever has set aside $1 million. And I'm like, where did he get $1 million? But anyway, he sets aside $1 million, and it's in this thing, and he's got these, and it's like anyone who can come and prove anything paranormal, right? And they're usually thinking of psychic type shit. That was his specialty, was making people who claim to have any kind of psychic ability. He specialized in just making them look retarded. And so, like the constant argument when you're like, okay, so
so if anyone can prove any paranormal activity, then
that's what they say. But when you actually look at the fine print, the way the tests are set up is like no one can pass this. It's not possible. Even if like somebody was like, well, I can't say if somebody was like an X-Man or whatever, but the kinds of psychic abilities that people actually can have that have been proven in labs, okay, like proven in fucking, university laboratories, like the thing where people have precognition about some things.
Right.
It's not, we don't control it, but sometimes people just know stuff and it's not really explained why. Well, you can't fucking, the way the tests are set up for the Randi Foundation, that's not possible to do. Right. So when you see the tests and you're familiar with the field of parapsychology, you understand that the test is arranged in such a way that parapsychological stuff will never pass the test.
Yeah.
But these freaking Skerpderps don't look that far. They're just like, well, if they'll tell you like there's no evidence for any kind of psychic stuff, and you're like, there's a lot of evidence. And they're like, well, then how come no one's claimed the $1 million prize? And
Right.
like at first I used to try to explain, but now I'm just like, oh, you're one of those. Okay. I'll see you later, man. Because they don't want to hear it. Like if you tell them like, dude, that prize is set up as a sleight of hand against you. It isn't about trying to prove or disprove paranormal shit. It's about supporting your belief that it doesn't exist. That prize is there to support that.
Yeah.
That's what it's for. It's sleight of hand. It's a trick on you. So they don't want to hear that.
That's freaking awesome.
It's kind of funny, but yeah, it can be but just basically. So what I'm saying, folks, is if you hear anybody say there's zero evidence of anything paranormal, and you're like, yeah, there is some evidence. They're like, well, if they ask you how come no one's claimed the prize, you could just like laugh and walk away.
Fucking Skerptards.
Yeah. Skerptards. Friggin' skerpderping everything.
Yeah.
But they don't. What's also weird about them is they don't do the same thing to the stuff they believe is true.
Right.
Like, I mean, they give this freaking laser focus, and like they'll go in and they'll spend freaking months going through every freaking frame of a video to find things to debunk it. But they just accept everything that fits the paradigm without question.
Yeah.
So when you start digging in deeper behind some of that stuff, you find like these, it's really interesting because so coming from the parapsychological, or I guess alternative side, people like us or whatever, we get used to this like incredibly rigorous crap. Like, that like if you're going to publish something or you're going to talk about something, like you need to fucking have your shit straight and your facts fucking right. Not like this show where we just try to get most of it wrong.
Yeah.
Not all of
not
it.
all of it. 99% of it
Yeah.
wrong, but not all of it.
That's right. We are wrong 99.8% of the time.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, because it's that 0.2%, man, that you can't fucking disprove because it's
This is maybe someday they'll say, "Oh, that's just entertainment."
Yeah, that's right. It is entertainment.
It's entertainment.
I mean, if it wasn't entertaining, we wouldn't be doing it.
Right.
But yeah, so it's weird because, and I'm specifically talking about the field of parapsychology, which, by the way, if people aren't aware, there is an actual field of parapsychology. Like it was famously practiced at Duke University. Anyone who's read Heinlein knows about that because he talked about it all the time. He was fascinated with the Duke experiments, where they were basically doing experiments on people's ability to do precognition, to read minds, and they would use the flashcards, right? They have these cards like with pictures on them, like there's a red diamond on it or a 4-leaf clover, And so like one of the classic tests is like there would be somebody in the room and then there would be somebody trying to read that person's mind, and the guy would look at the card and then put it down, and then the other person would try to guess what card it was. And they would just do that over and over and over, and they got statistically relevant. In other words, like you can't read somebody's mind all the time, but there were like 5 different card types, and if you were just freaking guessing every time, then there should be, over a large number of studies, it should come out to a certain number that it has to do with the probability of you just getting it right randomly, right?
Right.
Well, it was way above that. Huh. I mean, it wasn't like 100% or anything, but it was enough above it over huge amounts of studies to where you could say, okay, so sometimes.
Yeah, there's a certain level of disability.
Yeah. And so people would Skerpderp it. Oh, it's because they're reading body language or whatever. And so they would put the person who's looking at the cards in a completely different room. And so the guy who's doing the guessing is just in a room by himself with nothing. But he knows it's happening. He knows somewhere somebody's looking at a card. you know, and so the person running the test would cue that guy, be like, boop, okay, you know, like they've just looked at one and you're like, it's a red diamond. Boop, okay, 4-leaf clover. You know, and you just go with it, and like they would get statistically relevant results, and it's rigorous. So in the field of parapsychology, the tests are incredibly rigorous, and if you ever go and you actually look through the material, it's all like just documented in painstaking detail. Everything is explained. It's all freaking laid out, and which is interestingly makes it easy to understand, right? So as a layman going in and reading, like you instantly grasp the concepts of the test. That's how badass. This is hitting, you know, because they've just just like I said, in painstaking detail, they put everything. Whereas, you know, if you go to like any other standard science and look, a lot of stuff is not like that. You're looking through and you're like, okay, wait, what were they doing? And it's like just not really clear. Where were they? What was the you know? It's done, and then a lot of these tests have been unable to be reproduced. Right? There's this thing like the skeptical and just scientific community at large has come up with all of these terms. It seems like they just make them up on the spot or whatever, but they've come up with all these terms. Like we have things like confirmation bias.
Yeah.
And they have one that's called I think it's called the file drawer effect or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. All these things that they were making up to accuse parapsychologists of not getting it right, right? So the confirmation bias is like, you want to believe it, so you're just like freaking making it true, right? Basically like you can't be trusted because you want to believe this, is basically what they're saying.
Which the file drawer one is like any test that result that doesn't
yeah,
work.
that you don't like, you just stick in the file drawer and then you only publish the ones that are good.
Right. But that is like, that right there is exactly what happens in the scientific community, and like over many, many years. Like one of the things that Richard Feynman talked about was that problem in science, is that people a lot of
publish
times
the good results in other.
Because and it's kind of like a natural tendency. Like you have this theory, and you're going to check if it's right, and you based on the theory you determine what your experiment's going to be. Yeah, not just based generally. Like you figure out some way to test it, and you test it, and then you keep testing it, and then maybe I didn't get this number didn't come up right. Yeah. It doesn't quite match this constant. So maybe I did this wrong. Like I adjusted it again until they get and once they get the result, they stop. Yeah. That's right. So they have,
and they publish that one.
That's right.
Not all the tests.
They have all these tests where they were not quite getting the result they want. And when they finally got the result, they stopped testing. Yeah. And he was saying like, you need to keep doing experiments, like continue doing experiments. And he had students that, one student had an idea and they were going to do their thesis on this thing, and they were looking at research that these people had done with rats or whatever, and certain people had gotten these results from rats, and they were going to start based on all these results these other experiments with rats to do this thing. And he's like, no, you can't. You got to redo all those experiments. That's right. So the student was like, oh shit. Went to redo all the experiments and got completely, totally different results, and then did the thesis on that. On the fact that science failed. So that's what I was getting at is that recently, I don't know exactly how recently, but there was a huge sort of international effort where they kind of dug through all this stuff, like all the big name journals like Nature and Geology or whatever, right? They dig through all the journals, the physics, and they got 50 of the most fundamental sort of test results, like whatever, papers that papers that published things that are now fundamental, right? 50 of those things from just all across the sciences, and then just in the interest of science, went to reproduce all 50 of those, and they couldn't reproduce any of them. Not at least not as the paper seems to imply, that you could lay the experiment out like this and you'll get X result, right? Yeah. That just didn't happen. Like now, maybe if they kept testing and kept tweaking and kept testing, they could come around to it, like the original guys probably did. Right. But it isn't presented that way because of the file drawer. So what I'm getting at is that parapsychology
doesn't have any of these problems.
Right, because they've been forced into the position
That's
that they're
right.
in by all the
Skerpderps. That's right.
So the Skerpderps are useful. Skerpderping is useful.
The problem with it is that it needs to be ubiquitous.
Right.
If it's going to be applied at all. But the fact that it's only applied on things that they don't like.
Right.
And not applied at all on things that are like they're expecting it. You know, in other words, some result that they expect, they don't question. They don't try, like you said, they don't redo the test. They don't try it. You know, they don't.
Right.
But if it's something they don't, so this happens, and this is confirmation bias. Okay, this is true confirmation bias. Like if some archaeologist has a potsherd or whatever, and he wants to date it. And he goes to get radiocarbon. First, he's getting the stratigraphy date, like where it is in the strata, and he's kind of looking at it. And he's like, that's kind of too deep for that style, right? So he doesn't like where he found it. Yeah. All right, so he's now questioning that just because of his bias.
Right.
All right, he doesn't like the stratigraphy, so he's like, well, let's go get a C14 date, and so you already know that, like, if the C14 date contradicts the stratigraphy, he'll just take the C14 date and ignore the. He won't, he'll just be like, well, this C14 was blah blah blah, because he doesn't like this, and he so if the C14 gives him something else, he won't wonder why they don't reconcile with each other. Yeah. He won't wonder, like, why did I find it so deep? If he'll just guess, he'll be like, well, it must have been intrusive,
right? Or it dried out and there was a crack and it must have fallen
deeper. Yeah, like just they'll make stuff up. Yeah,
yeah.
So that's confirmation bias. That's true confirmation bias, not what skeptics try to usually use it as, where it's basically like, because you believe in the paranormal, you can't be trusted to do any tests on the paranormal because you fucking believe in it, right?
Yeah.
That's not confirmation bias. Confirmation bias is where you're like actively disregarding evidence against, and then seeking evidence for, in order to be able to disregard that evidence against, right? And so when you look through the field of archaeology, especially, there's tons of everything is like that. Like, they have all these different ways of dating, and they will just take whichever one gives them the date that they already thought it was.
Right. Yeah, you gave me that book, Forbidden Archaeology by Michael Cremo.
Yeah.
And it's just loaded with, like, all of these parts, right? These fossilized, anatomically modern human skeletons that were in pieces and fragments of
that are
bones
ridiculous places.
that are buried in stratigraphy that's like far too deep, that would make the age like way before.
Yeah, no, in some cases we're talking hundreds of millions of years here, folks. So it's like, it's
like
serious.
There was a shitload of them though that were like around the time of like 2.53 million years old, right?
Yeah.
And at this point, all of those are now just gone from the quote unquote archaeological record.
Right.
And they're just like, all of them are assumed to be wrong.
Right.
Because
there's something wrong.
There must be something wrong because they, at a later time, like they were finding all these through the process of trying to confirm evolution and all this kind of shit.
Yeah.
And once they finally landed on when they got all these various different fossils in the stratigraphy that they wanted, that gave them a way to line them up in terms of age.
Yeah.
Then they began to only use that conventional wisdom of the age of the thing based on what it was.
Yeah.
So it didn't matter anymore if you found a anatomically modern human fossil somewhere. They would just be like, oh, well, it's this old.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter where you found it.
Right.
It had to have gotten there somewhere else.
But if you tell them like, well, it's in this place that it couldn't possibly have gotten, and then they're like, well, then something is wrong.
Right. And there were so many of those, like so many of them. And then when they couldn't, there was this one part, I don't know the people involved. I can't remember that kind of stuff, but there was this one that was so freaking solid. And the dude did not excavate it, brought all these experts in, geologists, everybody, and they all checked it out. And then they excavated it with everyone there, and they publicized the whole thing. And it was this huge challenge to the conventional wisdom, to the standard model. And
was it the skull in the caves in Greece?
I don't remember.
Okay.
All I know is that the basic idea was there was this big argument going on between these two camps.
Yeah.
Right? And the standard model camp found some other fossil somewhere else, and that became like big news. And they changed their strategy to, okay, it's pointless to spend time continuing to try to quote unquote debunk this guy's shit because it's so freaking solid.
Yeah.
So they just stopped talking about it.
Yeah.
They just never again referenced it at all. And then
Yeah.
anytime anyone, like eventually somebody came out with something that was not referencing his work, but that was so solid according to the standard model that everyone was like, oh, okay, case closed.
Right.
But they never had to, again, argue
with
in
that
a
problem.
public, in a public forum with this problem. And the problem just like vanishes because now they've got this new thing that's just like, okay, this is irrefutable.
Right. It's not.
And it's not because it never disproved what this other guy found, and no one could do it. But it's just that's just gone.
Yeah, the book is full of that. Like basically, the entire book is. That's all that he lists in there are artifacts that. What does he call it? He calls it. He's got a different bias type. He calls it. It's not confirmation bias. It's a like normal bias, something like that. Something where basically he means that he's trying. He won't go so far to say that there's a conspiracy, which I think that there is. I don't know who's behind it or whatever, and I don't know if it's all like everybody's coordinated or whatever. It's not like that, but he says that it's all can be explained by people just not wanting to deal or think about things that don't fit what they understand.
Yeah.
I can't remember what he calls it. It's like something about. So you come up with this problem, you find this thing, you're like, okay, how can this be? You know all the information about it, and all the information points to it not fitting your entire picture of the world. Like if this is true, then your whole world is wrong, right? And you have to, and so people are like, and they'll just kind of set it aside and be like, I need to think about this, and then they'll walk away, and then they don't think about it because it's not comfortable to think about, and then they just keep doing work and they find other stuff, they get interested in other things, and that thing just sits on the shelf.
Right. And they keep continuing to only get interested in the things that shore up the paradigm.
That's right.
And then eventually there's so much of that stuff that everyone's focusing on that these outliers are just like,
Right. But there's a ton of the outliers.
Right.
They build up. But the thing is that they're hard to find.
What he did say was a conspiracy, though, was that they changed their strategy.
Yeah.
Because initially there was this massive debate going on in public, right?
Yeah.
Public forums. And they just could not, it was the same thing that was going on with like parapsychology. The people outside the paradigm kept doing more and more rigorous, study and like when they would find something, they would like invite everyone to witness it and all this because they were just, people were accused of just being like not good scientists and just like character destruction and all this kind of stuff going on.
Yep. So just to be able to cast doubt on the object. Yeah.
Right. So eventually they get so ridiculously badass at like, uncovering or, discovering these things.
You're like, well, everyone was there when I uncovered it.
Yeah.
And all agreed at the time in writing that I was doing it right.
Yeah. And so they changed their strategy from debating it publicly to just completely and totally ignoring it.
Right.
And never talking about it at all.
Right. So the question on that is...
That is a conspiracy.
Yeah.
I mean, that's...
And the question on that is who was behind that decision? Because like that kind of thing has to be... Somebody has to say, hey, like...
Sort of like coordinated.
Yeah.
A real conspiracy. Like
right. Because you got
getting together.
So you imagine all these people that are paradigm people and they're frustrated by this thing and they're arguing it. And like that kind of person doesn't stop. They're going to continuously attack this thing. So somebody had to go to them and hey, bro, the best way to deal with this is just stop talking about it.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, but it's wrong. And they're like, just don't talk about it. They had to be convinced.
There were different people, scientists and archaeologists and stuff throughout the times that became like the guy.
Right.
And then after his time, there would be another the guy.
Yeah.
And it's like they all had slightly different ways of dealing with it.
Yeah.
But at some point, one of quote unquote the guys that was like the top dude at this time, he took that strategy and everyone else followed suit. And eventually they had so much of their own, I guess, confirmation bias evidence for their own story that became the mainstream from then on, and there was no need to ever address any of this other stuff again, except just like,
right.
Yeah, no.
So what that's called, so if you go to a place and you're looking for evidence of whatever it is, doesn't matter if you're investigating a crime or you're doing archaeology or whatever, and you're basically trying to gather evidence, but you show up with a preconceived idea of like whatever the crime was or whatever the archaeology is, whatever. You show up with this preconceived idea. So there's evidence all around, and you start picking it all up, and you just start discarding the stuff that doesn't fit your preconceived idea.
Right.
So that you end up with this pile of stuff that fits. That's called cherry picking.
Yeah.
Okay. Which is another thing that they always use on the alternative people, like, oh, you're cherry picking the data to make it look like what you're saying is true. Right. So people that are on the alternative side do not ever cherry pick because they know that that's one of the first things they're going to get accused of, but within the paradigm, that's all that happens is cherry picking.
Yeah.
Because basically what you've been describing with, Feynman was talking about with the physics, everything, like all that is basically like people discarding the data that doesn't fit and then publishing the stuff that does. And so you end up with this public picture of like, yeah, we've got this stuff figured out. All of our results are positive. All of our theories are being proven true every day. But it's because there's this humongous amount of hidden data behind every study is this gigantic pile of hidden data that's not published. It's not necessarily thrown away. But it isn't published and it isn't dealt with in the published stuff.
Right.
That's cherry picking, which I also should say that sometimes you need to cherry pick. Like this is the other thing that I have a big problem with is this whole the entire thing where basically all these people trying to like get rid of these things they don't like, and they're coming up with all these terms and accusing people of them, and they become part of the lexicon, and then everybody thinks that those things are bad. All like discrimination, right?
Yeah.
Like having discrimination, being able to tell the difference between this thing and that thing is good, right?
Right.
It's just like, it's good. I know that that's not a door and that is.
Right.
That's good. So I don't run into the fucking wall, right? That's discrimination. But because of the way it's used in the public discourse, the word has become bad. So if you tell somebody that you have discrimination, they're like, ugh. You mean you can tell the difference between stuff? That's just terrible, bro. Right? And so the same thing happens with this. Like cherry picking is automatically bad. Automatically. And yet that is exactly what police do every fucking day to solve like crime sprees. So if you have
systemic issues like you.
Yeah. If you have a serial killer and you've got 2 cases where he's killed somebody, but there's weird evidence there, but it's not enough for you to fucking track him down or figure him out or anything like that. You can start going through the cold case files like of previous murders or even in other cities looking for similar cases, some cases that have these same weird things that are in the ones are from him.
Right. So you're cherry picking that.
Pull those out of the entire fucking, but people are like, oh, that's cherry picking. Like, yeah. Do you want people to try to catch serial killers by like using every fucking murder that's unsolved and being like, we have to look at all of them, guys, because of those, otherwise we're cherry picking. That's ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
So it's automatically bad. So when people see this happening, like for instance with the 411 stuff, David Politis, as a police officer, has going through tens of thousands of missing persons reports, and he's pulled out, a couple of like 1,600 or whatever.
Yeah.
And people are like, oh my God, he's cherry picking. I'm like, of course he is.
Yeah.
You're like, well, that's invalid. I'm like, no, it isn't. He's just pulling all the ones out and saying that those are mysterious. Right, because those are the ones that are fucking mysterious.
Right. And
the other ones aren't mysterious.
Or they are mysterious, but they're mysterious for totally different reasons.
Well, no, like the other ones are like, this was an animal attack because we found blood everywhere, right? This guy got lost and broke his ankle and died because that's, whatever. So he discards all that shit. Like this person fucking fell off the cliff and drowned, Or anyway, he's got a profile of weird stuff that isn't explained in any way, like dogs can't track, or fucking the boulder fields, or the person was picking berries, just all that shit.
Right.
Wearing bright clothes, tiny children that like fucking travel for miles in like a few hours.
Right.
Those are mysterious.
Right.
And then it's always the corner is like exposure. He died of exposure and blunt force trauma, but exposure. Like whatever. Or they disappear within feet of people that are there.
Yeah.
They just vanish without a sound.
So yeah, he's got these specific
Things he's looking
things that he's cherry picked, like
Right.
these specific facts about the missing person's
Right.
case that he's cherry picked as things that he's basically looking for in all missing persons cases.
for. Right. In the parks, yeah.
And when he finds them, and that would be one too. Like
Right. It's he's already cherry picked the parks. Like, why isn't he
Right.
doing every missing person everywhere in the fucking world ever? Because he's not looking
basically
at that.
he's got a confirmation bias about the Samsquatch, and he's trying to prove it's Samsquatches.
Yeah. Yeah, I see that all the time. People are like, oh my God, he thinks it's Sasquatch. I'm like, he doesn't ever say that. And actually, when people are like, so do you think this is like Samsquatch? And he's like, well, some people have suggested that. That's his usual answer to that. And they're like, that's so disingenuous. I'm like, no, what? He just told you the truth. Some people think that, but he doesn't think it, you know? Or if he does, he's not saying it. And like, he addresses that directly, like by saying, I don't know what this is. And even if I had ideas on what it was, I have zero evidence for that. So if I came out and was like, yeah, this is Samsquatch, and then later it turned out to be wrong, all credibility is gone, right?
And that's all the Skerpderps would focus on.
That's
is
right.
That he
They're
claimed it was something that
Right.
it wasn't.
Since he's not claiming it, they're like, yeah, but he totally fucking thinks that. You can tell. I'm like, no, you can't. And no, he doesn't. But like, and I've dealt with a lot of 411 skeptics online, a lot of it. Like, for some reason, the 411 subreddit is full of them, like, for some reason, right? I'm like, what are you doing here? Like, this is a subreddit for people who are interested in this because it's a mystery. You completely don't believe it's happening. Why are you here? What are you doing here? And they never answer that question. Not a single one of them has ever answered that question.
If you ever get the answer, I'm Skerpderping you, that'd be badass. Then you could
Yeah.
be like, do you listen to Snake Bros?
Yeah, and I'm totally fine with somebody being a Skerpderp if they're open about it. But they're in there pretending to be interested. Like, there's this thing called, we used to call it the concern troll, right? So, like, trolling on the internet. And there's a particular kind of troll that's the concern troll, right? So he pretends to be on your side, but he's concerned about all these problems, right? You'll see this all the time. Like, they're like, yeah, you know, well, I'm kind of concerned about the way the UFO community is, but, you know, and you're like, get out of here, concern troll.
Concern troll.
Because what they're concerned about is all the same stuff that the Skerpderps are basically saying is bullshit, right?
Yeah.
They're just trying to approach it from the other side. Well, I'm just kind of concerned about how, like, so many people are, like, fabricating videos. Get out of here, concern troll. Like, get out of here. Just go be a regular Skerpderp. It's okay.
Fucking
And it's like, why? Yeah.
concern trolls and Skerptards.
Why? Okay, so why does this kind of person, whatever this kind of person is, like, why are they so?
And we got to take a break.
Damn it! Oh yeah, we're way over.
Yeah, I've been watching. I don't know. You keep looking at the clock.
No, I'm not looking at it really.
Okay.
I'm watching the pretty.
I keep watching you look at the clock, and I'm thinking he knows
actually
what time it is, but he's got this point that he's trying to get to.
Nope. Nope. I was just going on and on and on about Skerpderps.
Well, there's a lot more to say about Skerpderps.
Yeah, I was actually looking at the way the waveforms are forming.
yeah.
I'm like, wow, that proves something. Something is being proven right there.
That proves we're about to take a break.
Yep. I need some snake snacks.
Yo, you need snake snacks?
Yeah, some snake bites.
All right. Snake bites.
Why didn't you put that in anymore? It needs to be in more. Snake bites.
Limitless conversations with two limited individuals from the 10 by 10 by 10 tangent cube of science. We hail.
Snake bites are pretty good.
Across the stony plain, high atop the Edwards Plateau in Tejas.
Stone bones.
Bones of an ancient seabed long past.
That's right.
Shadows of the other world. Bivalves.
Yeah, Dad actually was Skerpderping the bivalve thing. He was like, those aren't bivalves. Those coiled, cephalopod looking, they're nautilus looking. And he looked them up. He was like, you guys are right. They are bivalves. Somehow. Those things that look like nautilus shells coiled up or whatever are also bivalves.
Yep. They're like a clam, but they have a top and bottom shell, and the bottom shell is sort of just this flat thing. The top actually grows into a spiral.
Yeah. He was like, how did y'all know that? I was just like, bro, we can touch a fossil and just know. I didn't say that to him, but
man, after I listened to that Forbidden Archeology, I was driving around in the machine like burning stuff.
Yeah.
And after you burn, it clears all the grass and the rocks, all these minerals like show up in the rocks that you couldn't see. And dude, I was looking at all this stuff like after it rained and the ashes were washed away.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh my God. There could be freaking humans down in there. Ancient.
Absolutely.
But actually what I found out that was really interesting. Actually, I don't want to talk about that yet. It's a good topic. But
okay.
I'll keep you guys on the edge of your seat.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to stick around, folks, to hear that one.
Yeah. And I won't forget this one.
Good.
Like I did in the GMA episode. Sorry.
And I haven't forgotten my question, which is like, why is there so much? I haven't figured out how to ask it yet. I know what the question is, though. Like, why is there so much? Are they disingenuous? Like, why is there so much deception involved? Like, pretend, like the concern troll. Like, you go to pretend, like you're so against this idea that you're like, I know what I'll do. I'll pretend to be on their side, and then sow doubt from within. Right? Like,
okay, I don't know about that, but your question made me think of my political beliefs, like way back when I had never really researched politics for myself.
Yeah.
I'd never, but I had just sort of grown up hearing things.
Total leftist, yeah.
I just like heard things from people and, people's their opinions and then what they said happened and all this kind of stuff. And,
Right, yeah.
And I was like firmly set in what I believed. And I would be at parties or something and people would be saying like a different point. And I'm like, no. Like you're totally wrong. Like accusing them of just being completely and totally wrong. And then, but I didn't have any way to really back it up. It was just because I just knew that they were wrong because I knew things were this other way that I couldn't really even describe.
Right.
And I wasn't being disingenuous.
And by knew, you mean like that was your frame of mind.
Right.
Yeah. But you had no action.
No, I didn't actually know anything.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say it was disingenuous. It was.
That's not disingenuous.
I did not realize what I didn't know.
Yeah.
But I would like getting into a debate with someone. I would not want to accept things that they were saying were true.
Right.
Even though I had nothing to refute it or didn't even know about it. I'm just like, no, that can't be true.
Right.
And I would then started looking to back up my beliefs.
Right.
Right. And so cherry picking and confirmation bias and all of the above, trying to get in like, it's a little different with a science than it is with politics.
Yeah.
Because, it's a lot of politics is rooted in, opinions of how you want to live now.
Right.
Whereas, especially what we're talking about with archaeology and that kind of stuff, UFOs and all that.
Yeah.
Has to do more with what has happened.
Yeah.
So there is something definite that has happened. And with politics, like the way I want to live or what I think is right is not necessarily,
Yeah. You have this ideal and it's not the same thing as like a solid fact of like there's this pottery over here.
Right,
It's
but
just not the same thing.
there was a tendency to when I hear something that someone's claiming is a fact, I don't want to believe it if it screws up what I feel is the truth.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah,
feel
absolutely
being the
right. Yeah.
So yeah, I had to get over that, and that was definitely difficult. But I don't know what these concern trolls are doing because I've never
I'm
experienced one.
Yeah, I'm just concern troll is an example, but it's all throughout. Okay, like so my question about like why is there deception? The deception is on all levels. Like it's you have the concern troll thing, which is like a very blatant version of it, right? But then you also have people like I was saying, like I'm like asking people like, why are you in this? Why are you in this subreddit? You know, like what are you doing here? Like you're not interested in the subject. You think it's bullshit. Why are you here? Like,
yeah.
You know, in other words, that they're like, and they may not be concern trolling. They're just in there all the time, calling everything bullshit all the time, right?
Right.
I'm like, what are you doing here?
Bullshit.
Yeah, like this is a sub for people who are interested in this subject. You think it's all crap, so like, what are you doing here?
Yeah. So
Like, I don't go to, you know, I don't go to subs that I'm not, or to subjects. I don't go track them down and just go in there and be like, this is crap. This is fucking crap. Oh, this is fucking crap all the time. Like, I'm not doing that. I'm looking at the stuff I'm interested in and you know, and engaging with that.
Yeah,
The kind of person who is like, I'm gonna go find this thing that I think is bullshit. I'm just gonna sit in there and just call it bullshit all the time. Like that's like that's what they're interested in, right? They're interested in doing that. That's what I mean. It's like, but they don't ever say that. They're not like, I'm here.
So really, they're more concerned with people and what people think than the actual thing about UFOs or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what they're concerned with. Like, I start to accuse them of all kinds of stuff because they won't answer my question of like what I asked them. I'm like, what are you doing here? And they never answer it. So I'm like, I just start making shit up. Like every time I see the guy, I'm like, and I'll tell people, they're like, what, you know, who is he? And I'm like, oh, and I just make up this big story about why the guy's here. That's completely untrue. It's like, I totally fabricate it on the spot and they're different every time. And the guy was like, why are you saying all that? I'm like, because you've never answered my question of what the fuck are you doing here, bro? And so like, I'm just making this shit up. One of these has got to be true. You know, you could solve this problem by telling me, what are you doing here? But you won't. So you're a fucking government agent in here to fucking disprove all, like to debunk all this stuff because it's really happening. And you don't want people to think that. That's why you're here. You know, and like, that's what I mean. Like the deception is in that sense, the deception is in like, they're not saying to people like, yeah, so I think this is all crap and I'm just here to like engage in the debate about it. If they did that, that'd be fine. It's cool. Like you think it's bullshit and you want to come in here and like just kind of debate, but you're interested in debating the subject. Like you really think it's crap, but you're interested in the debate. So like you want to come in here and do that. That would be totally cool. But they don't ever say that.
That was the example I was going to give. Like I would go to a place where I know, or I would hear a conversation where I think it's bullshit, and I would join the debate,
right?
To, you know, call it bullshit,
right? But you wouldn't like if there was a group of people.
But it's because I'm interested in the subject, already.
Yeah, but if there was like a group of people and you overhear them or whatever, and you like, and let's say that they have a club for whatever this topic is or whatever, and like instead of just going over there and be like, man, you know, like I kind of think that's crap, and you join the club. You like you sign up for the club, and then you're just kind of standing there, and whenever they talk, you're like, man, I don't know about that, you know. But then you just like, but I'm in the club. So it's like
I don't know about that.
Yeah, they're constantly giving this impression that they're here because they're interested in the subject, but they're not, you know. And a lot of them, like specifically with the 411, a lot of them are there just to, mostly what they do is attack David Paulides, the author of the books. Like they're just attacking him all the time. And I'm like, yeah, so no one cares.
Yeah, there's the same thing with Sitchin. Like so many people attack him.
Right. They're like, well, yeah, he fucking did. You know, I'm just like, well, like address his books and then we can talk. Like what, you know, show me. Don't just be like, he couldn't fucking translate those languages. Like actually show me where his translations were like wrong. They can't do that because there isn't such a thing.
Right.
There's the translation and then like everybody that translates it, especially with Sumerian, every translation you read of the same text will be different.
Yeah.
But you kind of can see that they're the same thing. They're just using different words because people are different. And then there's the way you interpret it.
Right.
And that's where Sitchin is like drastically different. Right. And if they want to say, well, his interpretation's wrong, but that's not what they say.
Right.
He fucking couldn't translate. I'm like, you're lying. You know? Like, say that his interpretation is totally off, that's fine. But they don't say that. They know that it's a lot more discrediting to say that his translations were completely wrong.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. So there's deception on all levels. Then there's, of course, the hypocrisy of the deception of that they don't apply all these same incredibly stringent fucking rules that they demand from anything that's outside the paradigm with their own stuff. They just don't. I mean, like, it's so lax with their own stuff that when you actually dig it, and when they actually dig into it, they find all these fucking problems, and they're like, oh, you know, there was that big announcement about how they couldn't reproduce those, you know, which basically put that actually puts all of science on its head. Like, none of that stuff in those 50 freaking different things that they were doing can now be assumed true. And have they addressed it? No. The thing came out, we're like, wow, they couldn't reproduce this stuff. Wow.
Moving on with the standard
So we're
model.
looking for the Higgs boson. Yeah, it's just like, it's like, dude, deal with it. Like, you know, fucking, there's also another thing they'll say a lot. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, right? But of course, the fallacy in that is like, who fucking gets to say what's extraordinary?
Yeah.
And this is what I mean. There's deception at every level. Like, the stuff that they say, just like that. Well, extraordinary claims, you know, require extraordinary evidence. There's no digging into that phrase. There's this hidden secret shit going on in that you have to stop and say, wait a minute. Extraordinary means that, like, it's out of the ordinary, that it never happens, it's an outlier or whatever, which is not true with, like, parapsychology. Like, everyone everyone has something.
That's the thing. It's the whole lopsided set of rules, which is what has become ordinary that these in various different scientific fields, they made it ordinary by their own set of rules for themselves.
That's right.
And then once they achieved that was now accepted as ordinary, then they set an entirely different set of rules for anything that's outside of that, and they can then claim anything outside of that is extraordinary.
Right. And it's a false wall.
That's what I'm saying.
Because they're like, well, look, like, you know, the whole gravity thing, like, everyone experiences gravity. Like, you know, if you want to fucking question, jump out the window or whatever. I'm like, yeah, but everyone has also experienced paranormal stuff. Like, everyone. You know, people are like, oh, I've never seen anything. But if you give them some time, and if they actually will think about it, like, yeah, they experienced something. They saw weird lights in the sky. They heard, like, knocking on their fucking door when they were, like, a little kid. You know, shit that you can't explain. Like, they fucking saw Samsquatch, whatever. Maybe they used to go camping a lot and they would hear tree knocks. And, you know, and they're like, well, I just always thought that was, like, fucking beavers. And you're like, no, it's not fucking beavers, dude. You know, so that's the thing, is it isn't extraordinary.
Right.
That's so.
Well, that was my point, is that the people that set up sort of what we're calling the standard model.
Yeah.
They made it ordinary, even though they were actually also extraordinary. Just the same definition of the things that they are now calling extraordinary, they were doing, but they made it ordinary.
Right. So so that's what I'm getting at, is that there's deception.
Right.
Right. It like the stuff that they're saying, oh yeah, this is ordinary, it happens all the time, blah blah blah. It's no more ordinary or extraordinary than anything else. Like, first of all, like, you know, I'll often try to do. I try to use this to illustrate why this is a fallacious way of looking at it. And so far, people are just like, "What are you trying to say?" I'm like, okay, so. According to the standard model, the universe is like 14 billion years old. We've been doing this science thing for like 200 years. And guess what? The history of the science thing we've been doing...
400 years.
Oh, I'm sorry. Twice that long, yeah. Yeah, what's the... Is that point 0.00000000000002 of the universe's age instead of 0.000000019999999.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, so it's 14 billion years old. We've been doing this for 400 years. And the history of the science thing we've been doing is us going, whoa, we were wrong. Whoa, we were wrong about that too. Whoa, we were wrong about that. And so like I'm kind of surprised all the time that people are saying, well, this is how science sees it. I'm like, yeah, but science has been shown by doing science that it's been fucking wrong about everything the whole time, right? Like Mars, they're like everything they find on Mars is like surprising people. You know, like scientists are like, holy shit, like they weren't expecting that. They're fucking, and what does that say? It says that their model, the picture that they had of Mars before they started to actually get the data was fucking wrong.
Right.
And yet people will still they'll say, well, like, yeah, so now here's the picture of Mars and it's right. It's totally fucking right. And I'm like, no, it's probably, everything about it is probably wrong except for the stuff that we've gathered as facts since we started to like put rovers there. And even probably some of that is interpreted wrong.
Right. That's what you started this thing called the Manual for the Universe, Final Edition.
That's right.
That's like
the Manual for How the Universe Works, Final Edition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's always the final edition every time.
Yeah.
Like, and then they figure out that they were wrong about something and they're just like, oh, okay, like fix
they changed the manual, but it's still
the final
edition. Final edition is updated every day and no one acknowledges that it's updated. It's just the final edition. Yeah.
So I've asked you this question before. Why do they hold on to these paradigms? Why do they struggle so much to, maintain this paradigm or whatever? And we were talking about, mainly in the field of archaeology, and Giza and all that, that sort of stuff. And I remember you answering me like a couple of the answers had to do with people in the field now that are at the top of the deal, like their theories and their papers and everything. Yeah. They're the ones that discovered and came up with the blah, blah, blah. And now so it's like their careers and their reputations are on, are at stake here.
That's one of the explanations that it's not satisfactory.
Yeah, it's not satisfactory because I don't know,
because in science, careers are actually made. Nobel Prizes are won by people who find out something that no one expected and then fucking prove it. So when people are resisting doing that over and over and over and over and over and over, you can't say like, well, because they're concerned about their careers, because like the history of science is full of people who like got Nobel Prizes for proving shit that was against the grain.
Right.
Like the guys that like we talked about once, the guys who found the proved the microwave radiation background of the universe, right? They built the fucking radio telescope and they were out there watching bird crap off of it. Yeah. Because, and everyone was like, and the reason they were doing that and it took so long is because there was no concept of this background radiation. Right. But eventually they realized like, no, it's not a problem with our equipment. It's not bird shit on our fucking satellite dish. We're actually getting this and it's real. It's not from
this is a real noise.
Right. It's not somebody running the microwave while we're trying to do this. They're not fucking magnificent microwave casserole while we're doing our tests. It's something out there in the universe. And then they set about showing that and demonstrating it. And like, they got the Nobel Prize for that. So like the idea that people are concerned about their careers. And so they keep like throwing things away that buck the conventional wisdom is not true. I mean, it just...
And that's still only concerned with the people in the field.
Yeah.
Then you have all the people that are not in the field, like us.
Right.
Who are...
I think we're in the field.
Who are looking at it.
I mean, we're not...
Well, I mean, okay, I'm talking about...
Credentialed.
Yeah, credentialed professionals, whatever, in the field, who are looking at it, these people that are not in that, and they read or watch videos or whatever and learn about what the standard model is, and then that's it. Anyone that suggests something aside from that, it's like, no, I can't, Why? So their credentials aren't on the line.
Right.
Their reputation is not on the line.
Yeah.
Why do we have this? Because I've recognized it in myself as well.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely went through this with the Elastic Universe. Like, and that was the first time where I like really did the observer thing on myself, where I stepped away and I was like, what, wait, what, why am I having this like visceral reaction to this? Like you'd start talking about it. I'm like, no, I'm like, why is that happening? first of all, it's uncomfortable and stupid, you know, but like, why am I not just like debating this concept, but is it like, why is it upsetting me? Like, why is it annoying? You know, like you start talking about it and I can't just sit there and converse with you about it and like go pros and cons and stuff. Like I actually have an emotional reaction that's happening. That's like deep seated. I'm like, what the fuck is that? So, and that was actually really cool because it helped me address it in a logical way. And I talked to you, like we spent a lot of time talking about it. I'm like, okay, so this is fucking happening. And
yeah, I remember that.
It's dumb.
You're like, I don't know why, but it's like, I get annoyed every time you talk about that. And I'm like,
and now that's annoying me. Like, so then like you start talking about it and I get annoyed and then I'm annoyed by that. And I'm like, But what was cool is that whole process, it just kind of ended that. I mean, I can't say that it ended it forever. Like if somebody showed up and started questioning something else, maybe I'd have the same visceral reaction. But it's I've never noticed it ever so strong as that again since that. Once I addressed it and then but I told you, I was like, okay, so this is happening, but I don't want to stop talking about this.
Yeah,
because it's interesting. I want to keep talking about it or whatever, but I'm going to try to channel this negativity I have towards it into like actually trying to assist with the idea of the theory by looking for falsifications.
Right.
And I told you.
And that's when we really started making progress on the idea too.
Yeah. And like during that process, like I was converted, not really converted, but I went more towards like, this is a badass idea, you know, and now I really like it. And like, I look at the standard model and I'm like, well, you don't really explain very many things. You have some giant holes that are like 98% of the entire universe or whatever. But, and that just happened. In other words, the annoyance and everything went away once I noticed it and then decided to like address it or whatever.
Right. And use your knowledge of the standard model to help refine the idea.
Right. Yeah. I was like,
because I didn't have any of that shit. I was just like looking at one thing and I'm just like, this looks really familiar to this that's actually happening.
Yeah. Waves over here.
Waves over here.
Waves look same. And I'm like, no, they don't. I mean, like, well, I'm fuck. Yeah. So that was cool. And that whole process ended up getting rid. And I don't know. I can't really say, because I haven't really tried this, but I can't really say that like but it feels this way now that like looking at completely different paradigms is now like an easy thing to do.
Same with me. Like, before I started doing the Elastic Universe thing, I would not even really have considered that. But there was this point where you were presenting a bunch of ideas to me that I was just like, bullshit, you know, it's a bunch of bullshit. And it was in totally different stuff.
Yeah.
And we've talked about that before, but like there was a lot of different things. I was just like, this is bullshit. It would have been done, or it would have been, people would know about it, or this would be, you know, that's not legit.
Yeah.
Whatever. And eventually after you showed me enough things, like something clicked and everything, whatever that was, that wall that I had built up around what I believed, that was like not letting anything that didn't fit to come in.
Yeah.
Once that wall was gone, it was like anything new and different was refreshing.
Right.
Right. And now I like my tendency towards the Elastic Universe idea is still like, I challenge it all the time.
Yeah. And that's satisfying.
Right.
It's like I'm challenging it. I'm rooting for it to pass the challenge, but at the same time, I'm like, see if you can fucking do this. You know?
Right.
Like,
and that's why I listen to these physics audiobooks or whatever, because I'm hearing like,
not looking for proof, but looking for holes.
Yeah. And I hear certain things and I'm like, oh, what if it, and so I'll try to work out like new models in my head or whatever. And then they start to crumble.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Yep.
Or it may end up fortifying, you know, the Elastic Universe idea or something like that. And then in archaeology, it's the same thing. Like I've gone through these phases where it was like, it was aliens.
Yeah.
And then like, you know,
we were never saying it was, but it totally was.
Yeah. I start listening to Graham Hancock's books and I'm like, he's like totally against the alien thing. What the fuck?
Why is he against that?
And it's like, why is he always trying to make it ancient humans? And then eventually I'm like, actually, that would also be really fucking cool.
Yeah. It's not like it's less cool.
Yeah. And so I had all these ideas about, you know, ancient aliens and weird, crazy technology destroying the planet, doing this or that. And then I started listening to his stuff, and then there's the whole impact hypothesis, the Younger Dryas impact hypothesis, and all that. And I'm like, that is freaking badass too.
Yeah.
So now I kind of just like carry around all these possibilities.
Yeah. So when people are like, so what do you think? You're like,
it's
here's a stack of books, and you should read these papers. And
but I have
go
like
look at these potsherds.
Yeah, I have a few. I remember you telling me one time I was asking you about Nephas. I was like, are they bad or are they good? And you said this thing and it stuck with me. You were like, dude, I don't think it's black and white.
Yeah. Nothing is.
Nothing is black and white. And so that really...
Space. It's pretty black.
That really...
Space is black.
Stars are white.
Yeah. It's pretty black and white.
But that really transformed my way... Because it was like once the paradigm was broken the first time, I was looking for something black
Yeah.
or white to latch onto.
Right. You're looking for the next wall. You're
Right.
Like, okay, my wall's gone. Then I need to build
Yeah.
fortifications. Like, so
Like,
are they
here's
bad?
a rock,
Yeah.
cling.
So are these guys the good guys and those are the bad guys? No, bro. Like,
Yeah.
Nobody knows. The bad guys are the good guys.
Yeah.
The good guys are the bad guys. And they're all mixed together.
I was just out here in the hills, angry and upset, clinging to rocks and ancient texts.
right. And I'm like, those rocks are bones. Those aren't even
I was
rocks.
like, no, it's shells.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the non-black and white thing, where it was like, not only was I able to eventually accept no paradigm,
Yeah.
really.
You
but
were able to get rid of the fallacy of the false dichotomy, which is another big deception. The false dichotomy of like, there's only two choices, right? So like if you're in some forum and like they're talking about evolution, you're like, well, I kind of have some problems with the whole like evolution, and they're like, oh my god, you're a fucking 6K creationist. You're like, no, because there's only two possibilities: either you completely believe in evolution, or you're a stupid ass 6K creationist, right? Which I say 6K creationist because they usually believe this Earth is 6,000 years old, so 6K creationist. Right. And there's this paradigm that like, if you question evolution, you must be one of them because there's nothing else. I mean, come on.
Right.
And I'm like, no, dude, like, that's not true. They're like, well, then what do you think? I'm like, I actually don't know. How about that?
My newest question is, so we know how the animal in the ocean grew legs and crawled out of the water to live on land.
Yeah.
And I was just like, so when did the seaweed grow legs and crawl out onto the land and become trees?
Yeah.
Like,
root feet. And then we also know, like, or they say that they know that some of those animals that crawled out, got like root feet, crawled out, or like, man, fuck this, and they went back into the ocean. That's the whales.
oh yeah.
The whales were like giant land mammals, according to evolution, that got like, they were like, man, we're really fat. This is hard.
It's too hard.
So they went back into the water.
We need more buoyancy.
Yeah. And like they show that, like, look, you could see that their fins are feet and they have hips, which is pretty weird. They have hips and they totally don't need hips.
That's why you thought those bones in the cave were whale bones. It was like a big hip bone.
Yeah. I was like, it's fucking
did
whale.
not know
It's
that.
clearly a whale bone, bro. Well, I mean, it's not clearly, but yeah, they have, like, why?
Maybe
are
they
whales-
got hips because they thought they were sexy.
Yeah. They're like, check it out, baby. Wish I could speak whale. But like, so this just occurred to me.
Squeakum, squeak.
Squeak.
I started thinking about these ideas though. Like, there were periods of, where ocean was covering an area
Ubiquitous.
and then it goes away.
Yeah.
And it comes back, it goes away. And perhaps there was a place with shallow seas where the plants, like maybe the shallow seas somehow were there for like a really long time. And so the plants were growing up to the surface.
Yeah,
Of the water.
It could have been a huge flat bay that's like a couple inches deep.
Yeah. And eventually, like over time, they start to grow out of the water, and that because they go into the atmosphere and then they're getting direct sunlight and all this different shit, that they start developing different.
Right, and then the ocean goes away, and some of them survive it,
Right.
and then manage to keep going. Yeah, I mean,
But I mean, I can't, at this point, it's hard for me to imagine a time period long enough without some cataclysmic thing that would allow the incredible amount of time for these things to develop.
Right. Yeah. That is, in my mind, also the biggest problem with evolution. That is also the impossible thing to explain to people, because like there's so many hurdles. Like you have to be like, so like catastrophic shit happens like all the time, and they're like, no, it doesn't. There's been 5 great extinctions. I'm like, yeah, but catastrophic shit happens all the time, right?
Yeah.
Like the regularity is
I still remember.
startling.
I still remember reading a science book when I was homeschooling as a kid in the 90s that said it was talking about all this, like comets and all this kind of stuff,
Yeah.
or whatever the impact that supposedly killed the dinosaurs and
Right.
shit. And then later it's like, so comets hit the Earth on average once every million years. And I'm like,
Yeah.
well, then how the fuck?
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Because once every million years is in
That's
the evolutionary
really-
context is a lot.
That's a lot.
And I used to point out to people like the probability says once every million years. It isn't like every million years, like wham,
Yeah.
a million years go by, wham. No, what happens is
But that's how I imagine it.
right. That's why it's so. It's not. I don't know. Again, we're talking about the deception. Like this may not be purposeful, but like using probability.
You need to explain that.
Yeah, using probability to like post-predict the past. Okay, like this is what I find deceptive about it. Like once you understand probability, which can be a difficult process because you got to go through all this math, and then you have to sit there and think about it philosophically. Like, what does this actually mean when I say that something is this likely to happen or whatever? It doesn't tell me anything except that over large statistical universes that I can predict certain things. Like, so insurance companies use this ability to say that like X number of people will require lots of money, and that's set, but you can't point to which people it will be. Just
Or
like
how, like whether over time they are all happening right here at this one period.
right, but over large statistical universes, you can say that it's going to be happening at this rate, roughly,
Right.
with this, the same way with like atomic decay, like with radioactive decay, no one knows when each individual atom will decay and let go of that neutron. But you can look at lots of them and say that we know that X number will decay after this many years. Okay? But which ones, you can't say, right? So this is another one of the weird uncertainties. Like you can be certain that with a large number of things, like billions of atoms, of uranium atoms, that after X number of years, half of them will let go of the neutrons. Okay? And that's the half-life. But which ones get let go and which ones don't, that's impossible to tell. You just know that half of them will.
Right.
Right? And so the probability is like that. You can't be precise with it. You can extract data that can be informative, but only if you understand how it's informative and how it's not, right? So when evolutionists, and I recognize this, like when I remember recognizing this when I was young, like not really young, but I remember reading about it and being like, wait, it's like, so when they're like, so there's a 50% chance of rain tomorrow. People understand that in a way. They're like, okay, so half and half, right? Flip a coin, maybe it'll rain. But what if they said there was a 50% chance of rain yesterday? That's dumb, right? Because you're just like, wait, it didn't rain yesterday.
Yeah.
So there's 0 chance of rain yesterday because it's happened, right? It didn't fucking rain. So why would you even say that? You wouldn't. But the way evolution is done is they have taken probabilities of like, what's the probability that this random mutation will happen? And how long do we need to make it not improbable, but probable? So it starts out extremely improbable. And you start adding years and running the calculations, and you keep adding years until it becomes probable that it happens instead of being improbable. And then you say, okay, that's how long it took. That's bullshit. That's completely, you could say that in the future, this is the case, and you can't say that it will, but you can be like, so here's the probabilities. Like after 1 million years, this probably will happen, but it may not. Or it might happen like the next year. You know what I mean? You don't know.
What was the word you used to describe it?
Post-predicting? Like, yeah. It's like retrocausal post-predicting?
Yeah, it sounded like post-posthumous or something.
Yeah, it's because they're predicting something after it's happened.
Right.
And it's because there's no evidence. It's a post-prediction.
Post-past prediction.
Yeah, post-past predictions. Retrocausal. Fucking. That's what I'm saying. It's like, so the past has occurred. It's already happened. They have made up stories because of their theories, but there's no evidence of it. Not directly, right? There's indirect evidence of evolution in the sense that, like, we have all this shit. We don't know how it got here, right?
Right.
Okay. That's indirect evidence that something happened to get it here.
Right.
So they're saying, well, we think that this is precisely what happened, that random mutations in genes sometimes resulted in positive, like, attributes that then made whoever had that positive attribute a little more likely to breed and survive.
The fittest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's their concept. There's zero direct evidence of this, like fucking zero. Right?
Right.
Adaptation is not mutations. You know, because they'll always point to, like, well, look at the butterfly and the, you know, the adaptation. I'm like, yeah, but that isn't random mutation.
Right.
Adaptation is not. It's not just that it's not speciation. Like, an adaptation is not a random mutation. You know,
Yeah.
so evolution relies on, like, radiation just in the general, because there's radiation around us all the time. Like, the fucking limestone rocks are full of uranium, not full of it, but they've got radon and uranium. So there's stray neutrons flying around, also from the sun. And every once in a while, one of them will, like, slam into one of your DNA strands. And most of the time it makes cancer. But, like, sometimes maybe it'll make you, like, I don't know, have eyeballs on your fingertips or whatever the fuck, right? Something that just gives you an evolutionary advantage. And supposedly that gets you all the chicks or whatever, you know, and then you can fucking spread and then your line continues, and that results in things progressing, getting more complex, getting more adapted or whatever. But you can't tell that story. And then, so what they did was they had this idea, and they're like, well, so how long would it take to get to where we are now, starting from nothing, like just the quote unquote, primordial sludge, right? The soup that first we had to get a cell. First we had to get the protein chains that are forming randomly. And then those had to make a DNA thing or whatever, and it had to be a cell, you know. So they're like, they start using probability calculations, and then they say, so this is how long it took. It's not like, that's bullshit. You can use those probability things to, like, give you an idea about what might happen, but to predict the past with something that can't predict the future, but just will kind of give you something to work with. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's what they've done. They have taken something where, if I say there's a 50% chance of rain tomorrow, are you like, it's gonna fucking rain tomorrow because it didn't rain yesterday? 50% chance it's gonna rain. No, you don't say that. You're like, okay, you know that gives you an idea that, like, maybe half and half, maybe.
Yeah.
But in the end, tomorrow will or will not rain, even though there's a 50% chance. But what the evolution thing has done is said, like, there's a 50% chance that it would rain yesterday, and then said, so in 2 days it would have rained.
So it rained. Yeah.
Yeah, like, given 2 days, it would have rained, which is not true. It isn't true.
I gotcha. That's very interesting.
And but this is how they have, like, constructed vast amounts of information, right? So you have geologists and archaeologists working hand in hand on this, because they're kind of doing all this work at the same time. So geologists are going out there looking at all these layers and realizing, like, holy fuck, there's, like, a lot of layers. Like, I remember reading people's writings from the 1800s or whatever, and they were writing about how they suddenly became aware of this concept of deep time. Okay, so you have to remember this is a context where most people, the Europeans doing this, were from a religious, they didn't think the world was very old. They weren't Egyptians or whatever, you know. They just kind of were like, maybe thousands, maybe tens of thousands or whatever. But these geologists would go somewhere and they would see all these fucking layers. And because of the studies they've been doing, they have started to, like, think that this little layer may have taken 10,000 years to form by itself. And they see all these fucking layers and they're like, and suddenly in their mind, they see millions of years and they're just like, and it was like blowing their minds, you know?
Yeah.
This concept of deep time. But that deep time wasn't enough for the archaeologists. And deep time is not enough for me to explain all this shit, because we need to take another break. It's just not enough deep time.
We're going way over again, but it's cool.
Philosophy.
I'm loving this.
But let's finish this point. They built this concept of time together. Basically, the The geologists were working it out, and the archaeologists were saying, so we need this amount of time for this to happen, for these evolutionary processes to take place. So, I mean, it wasn't like they weren't like conspiring to put it all together, but that's how it worked out, that they were kind of working out together, which is good. That's how science should work together like that. But there's no foundation for it. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying that like it's the idea that evolution randomly happening because of mutations from freaking stray neutrons is what gives us the age of the Earth and the age of everything, right? The reason we think the Earth is 4 billion years old is because of all the science they've done, counting all these layers, whatever, and look at all this shit that they've done because they first started out building the timeline by how long you needed probability-wise to get random mutations to result in us and shit. It's just, it's a cool concept, but it's treated as fact.
Yeah.
And geology has based its stratigraphy on that. Like, this layer is X number of years old. And why is it that old? Why is it considered
Based
to be
on the
that
life
old?
forms
It's because,
inside it or whatever.
we know that it was happening during this period with the life forms that are in it, and this is how long ago that needs to be for evolution to have worked. That's the fucking...
Holy shit.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
So
Wait, are we not able to say geology is a hard science anymore?
yeah, no, it's a hard science that has like soft spots in it.
In terms of timelines.
There's like, little weird rotten spots in it that are like full of archaeologists going, we need this much time or whatever. Not archaeologists, evolutionary biologists, which again, like you ask any microbiologist, somebody who's doing, or like biological chemistry, they fucking know that it's bullshit. Because the concept of evolution at the time when they were forming it, they didn't know how complex that cell was.
Yeah.
Now they're like,
There's also things about like the DNA studies where they're just like the people doing genetics and
especially with the human DNA.
Yeah, they're just
because
like,
again, only the human context here, right? No one has
Right.
gone and done a complete genomic sequence on anything but the human DNA, and that took 10 years. Now they can match animal DNAs. They could be like, okay, so what DNA is this, and they can match it. But actually, freaking unrolling the entire strand and studying each sequence in it, they've only done that to the human genome, and that took a decade.
wow.
And those guys, they very quietly publish their papers at the end. If you go read it, they're like, yeah, so this part right here is like flipped around backwards, and there's no natural chemical thing that would do that. And so I'm like, yeah, so like aliens, bro. So the aliens come back no matter what you do.
I know what it was.
Yeah,
It was snakes.
Samsquatch. And we are back, folks. Brothers of the Serpent podcast, where we are discussing how it's not possible to post-predict the past. Like, I post-predict that we went over time 30 minutes last time. It's like kind of probable that would happen.
Yeah.
So it totally happened. Except that it didn't, right? See how that doesn't work? I've been trying to explain this concept I've tried to explain it to a lot of people, and I've never really gotten it very concise. And I'm probably botching it again here, but basically the point I was trying to make with all that stuff about probability is that it gives you information about the future, and that's useful information, but it doesn't predict the future. Using it in the past makes no sense. You can say like, well, so here are all the probabilities, and so we could say, so here's our idea using probability and nothing else of how this could have happened. But then to say, so that's what happened is just, it's ridiculous. So it's okay if you want, because people want a model. They want to be able to say, well, we want to know how old things are, or we want to have some kind of context. I'm like, okay, that's fine. But like, to then turn around and just fucking flip out when somebody says, well, maybe that's not
Yeah.
that old.
And that's kind of been my focus, is why do we get so hung up on these things? And
But a big part of it is the education system, in my opinion. You're being taught these things by authority, and you're studying. You spend all this time, like all this money, like fucking learning all this shit, and then like and then you want to go out and be like, okay, so that stuff's true. Like I've been educated, I know what's going on.
Yeah.
And then somebody's like, yeah, but like I found this skull over here, like way down at the bottom of this, and it's like, and they're like, no, you didn't. You did. I'm like, you're like, but I didn't know something's wrong, because I fucking learned that that's not what happens. And it cost me $200,000 fucking dollars. So don't fucking tell me that it's not right.
Yeah. So I can I'm comparing this to myself and the way I've dealt with things, and it just occurred to me like my thinking on evolution has evolved.
Whoa.
So
Whoa. Meta.
Like I started out, thinking evolution was total bullshit, total creation, that whole thing when I was young. And
we Christians. Yeah.
Right. And now like the way I do it now is I'm always trying to figure out how it could work, because I still don't
what could work?
How the evolution could work.
Okay, yeah.
Because there are things about the theory that you see these
something like there's some kind of evolutionary, like in the definition of the word, right? Like things
exactly.
evolve.
Yeah. And so I'm trying to figure it out, as opposed to just like no,
right?
Like I know it was done this other way.
God put those bones in the ground to confuse us,
to make us curious beings.
Right.
But I the way I think about it now is more the general question, like, well, what did happen? And I don't know is really
that's
the
the
whole
answer.
thing. I don't know. But I look at these things and I like with the seaweed idea, it's like, well, I would say the way I used to think about it would be, the trees didn't climb out of the water with legs, and so evolution is bullshit.
Yeah, therefore wrong. Yeah.
Therefore creation or something, right? Now I'm like, okay, I come up with the argument, well, the trees didn't grow legs and crawl out of the water. But then instead of saying end of my argument, I start thinking, well, then how could it take place?
Yeah.
How could it start out that and I'm just saying it didn't start out this way, but how could I take somewhere in the middle of the whole thing, you've got plants already, and they're only in water. How did they get?
Some of the plants started to grow on the animals that then crawled out of the water.
Yes, that's a good one. But that's the way I think about it now.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out how it could happen, and I may not. Obviously, I'm not figuring it out, but I have no problem entertaining the idea and trying to work on it.
Yeah,
as an idea, and that's why I don't know if it was the last podcast or whatever, but I was wondering. Why are we so stuck on this idea of evolution taking place only on Earth, or like all of this stuff here took place here?
Because aliens can't be true.
Right. Right. But I mean,
I know I'm being sarcastic, but at the same time, it's true. Like,
right. They look at, of course, once again, the probability and then the distances and all of this shit.
Well,
and
actually,
it's like,
well, yeah, but actually, no, I'm not. I don't mean aliens here. I mean aliens, period. Like, and what's funny is when they looked at the probabilities, it says that like aliens must be true. Like, according to the standard model, aliens are everywhere. I mean, the Copernican principle states, right, and they use this as the foundation for all astrophysics and cosmology. The Copernican principle says that anywhere in the universe is basically the same as any other place. There's no special spot, right? Which is a direct attack on the geocentrism ideas of like Earth is special and it's like in the center of the universe because God made, So that's an attack on a religious or superstitious idea. And so they had this. We have the Copernican principle, which basically starts with the idea of Copernicus saying, well, the Earth actually goes around the sun, not the sun.
Yeah, we talked about this.
Yeah, so
everything
they
is
expanded
everywhere.
that into like saying, so anywhere you look in the universe is going to be the same as everywhere else, except when it comes to like life. They want to say, I'm like, so that means the Earth is special? And they're like, no, it's not. I'm like, well, but if there's no life anywhere, I mean, there could be, but there's not. Go away.
But they can't believe. I mean, why are there all these organizations looking for it then? If no one,
Yeah. Okay. So they're looking for it, but none of them believe. Well, they give the impression that they don't believe it, right? Because like they find all these signs of life, and they're like, yeah, but it's probably not. It's like, and they struggle to find some way to explain it without life. Whereas anywhere on Earth you look, anywhere you look on Earth, like if you don't say like, how did life fuck with this? You're going to get it wrong, you know? I mean, except unless you're looking in the bowels of the planet. And even then, there could be stuff down there. We find extremophiles, and they call them that. And you're like, I'm like, so there they go again, calling something extreme because it's not what they know.
Yeah.
You know, an extremophile, if people don't know, is like something that lives in a place where they thought that nothing could live. You know, like at the depths of the ocean where it's like incredibly cold, there's no sunlight ever, you know. And they're like, nothing lives down there. It's like a desert. And then they go down there and they find life everywhere. And they're like, well, they're extremophiles. You know, like, well, it's not extreme if it's full of life. And they find them under the ice caps where they thought there was no life. 2 miles down in Antarctica, no light, freezing cold. Where's the food coming from? It doesn't.
Yeah.
Life's everywhere. And they're like, but there's nothing in space. You know, like, what? Space is just another extreme. So I don't know, like...
I can see you're still you have this idea that you're also asking the question like is there something intentional or is there
I would say that most people know
deceptive,
but
there's
it's
something deceptive about it.
Yeah, it's very deceptive, but most people are being deceptive in that way. Not well, okay. In certain circumstances, they will be deceptive. They'll hide shit if it doesn't fit.
Right.
And that'll be their one little piece of the fucking, you know, but they may not be aware that they're participating in a gigantic conspiracy.
Right.
But they are. And if you look at like, so in Forbidden Archeology, he kind of shows how this stuff happens, how data that doesn't fit, right? And so when you look at errors that are taking place, and all of the errors, which are supposedly unconnected with each other, yeah, but all of them point in the same direction. In other words, they all tend to like, they're all errors that push the standard model forward and hide the other stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if there were errors that went both ways, where people like accidentally put out, you know, really favored something that wasn't standard model, that's, you know, and it was an error to do that, but that doesn't happen. It's always in one direction.
Right. The errors toe the line.
Yeah.
And then when they're proven to be errors, it's like, oh, but then they've already moved on to some other stuff.
Yeah, they're like, well, that's old news. I mean, like nobody even thinks about that anymore. You're like, but it's important.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is how like people will say to you things like there's zero evidence of whatever. And I, you know, when I hear people say that now, I'm just like, there's so much evidence that I don't even want to talk to you anymore. Because if you think there's zero, I guess the quote that always comes to my mind is, there are none so blind as those who will not see. Right? They're not blind. They just refuse to see it. And that makes them more blind than a guy who doesn't have eyes.
But then on the other side, like they accuse, you know, the fringe, quote unquote,
yeah,
of having that same problem. Like, you don't see the evidence; it's all right in front of you for our idea.
Oh, yeah. Well, or they'll say that you don't see that all this evidence is false or whatever.
Like, what evidence is it going to take, Russ, for you to see? Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, yeah, okay, so what you're saying is they're like, well, there's so much evidence supporting this.
Right.
That, like, questioning
that you're disregarding.
Yeah, and I'm like, no, I'm not disregarding it. I'm just saying, like, there's also this other evidence.
Right. And so you take it all
and
together.
I'm asking, why is it not being incorporated?
Yeah,
and I'm not saying we need to discard all the evidence for the standard model. I'm saying, like, you guys have discarded this.
Right.
So that doesn't mean, this over here does not mean that the standard model must be thrown away. I mean, it might, but we don't know because you've discarded it instead of looking at it, right?
Right. So that's caused this whole other confusing aspect to the big debate, which is mainly one-sided, but that people who are looking at all of the evidence, including the stuff considered by the mainstream to be fringe or bunk,
yeah,
or whatever, the people that are trying to look at all of it together, like you, are
us, yeah,
like us, but I'm just using you as an example, spend a lot of time coming up with, like, you have to go in and research everything that the people towing the line are doing with the data to then come up with arguments as to why their data isn't complete.
Yeah.
And what they've done wrong with the data.
That's right.
Because you can't just bring up this other evidence because they immediately just discard it. So you have to,
Right.
in order to enter the debate, you know, to be legit, you have to start pointing fingers.
Yeah, well, okay, sometimes, yeah. Sometimes you can just be like, look at that giant block. It's in the mountains.
Right.
How'd that happen? You know, and you can just leave it at that. And they'll be like, well, I mean, the Romans, you know, whatever. But like, sometimes you don't have to dig into anything. You can just be like, that, you can't explain that.
Yeah.
It's like, it's, you know.
But I mean, it kind of becomes part of the whole thing.
Yeah, so
like,
if you really wanted to get into it, like what's happened to me is that's how I started. I'm just like, look at this giant block. Like, that's fucking impossible, you know? And then like I would be not attacked, but I would be confronted with all of this very scientific sound. Like they're quoting paper, they're fucking citing papers of like with all these German names on there, you know, whatever. And I'm just like, okay, whoa, you know. But they're just saying, well, in this, you know, when Dr. blah, blah, blah published blah, blah, blah in Nature in fucking 1974. And I'm like, okay, that sounds all official and shit.
Dr. Faxheiden.
Right. But yeah, Dr. Faxheiden. Yep. But what do they say? They say, well, in blah, 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 blah. And then they tell you what is in there that's part. And I'm like, okay, so I need to go look at that. Right. Because you're basically saying that this guy has proven that this is not true. But I'm like, there's still a fucking giant block out in the mountains.
Right.
And so what ends up happening is I'm not doing it because I want to like attack them. I'm doing it because they won't do it. I'm asking them to like say, well, what's going on here? Like, how does this fit? How can we fit this in? And they're like, you know, your questions are dumb. I'm like, but there's still the block. So then I have to go look at the paper, and then I'm reading the paper and I'm like, is that it? I mean, that really happened to me the first time that I did this. I read the whole paper, and I'm like, wait. I was waiting as I was reading it for the
bombshell.
Yeah, I'm like, where's the boom? There's supposed to be a gigantic boom. And it didn't happen. And like, so I eventually had to go back. I'm like, okay, I read the whole paper, and it appears to me that like he told a bunch of stories, but his main two things were like this, and those are like incredibly weak evidence that you would laugh at us if we said this is proving everything. But you cited that paper as though it did prove everything. And so this is what's actually in that paper. So based on your own, like, you know, rules, like that's not, you know, and they're like, well, it was peer reviewed. And I'm like, okay, so it was peer reviewed by people who were like, well, this is okay.
Yeah, this is the point I was getting at, is that you can't just enter the fray with, you know, with just this other evidence, right? You can't
well, I mean, you could start that way, but then they're going to be like, whatever. And so you have to go to continue to be in the fray.
Right.
You have to go seek out. You're like, okay, so why do they think this is such strong evidence? Go look at it, and you're like, and you come back and say, well, it's not really that. I mean, like, at least the impression that you guys gave me is that this isn't strong, because like that's not. So it's like, look, it has to be this way and this way, and this is not that way. So
right. So the burden is on everybody that's not towing the line.
That's right.
To not only do all the research and look at the quote unquote outlier evidence, but then also do all the same research that everybody else has done and look into all of that research to try to find the problems with it.
Yeah.
Before you can even present the whole thing, because you're just going to be poo-pooed out of the.
Yeah. Well, and like, to me, this is what outlier evidence should prompt.
Exactly.
Outlier evidence should require we say, okay, wait, this doesn't fit. And that should make us go back and look at the standard model and say, how did we get to a place where I have here a fact that cannot be placed in this model? So now I want to examine the model and figure out where we went wrong.
Right.
Right. They don't think we went wrong. They're like, no, we didn't go wrong. That's just that's probably a hoax or something. You know, like they don't want to examine the standard model. So then we have to go do it. But I do it not because I want to attack stuff, but because I'm interested in this shit and like I want this fucking fact to fit, right?
Right.
I'm like, it's there. Let's figure out how. I mean, you know, maybe it'll go into the standard model if we change something. Just move this block and it'll fit right in, right? You know. But like the initial approach, at least for me, the first time it happened, was surprising. I was just like, okay, wait. I'm not bringing up something that could be hoax. These are gigantic blocks in the mountain. Like, this isn't a UFO video. You're like, okay, you know, somebody made... No, this is a real gigantic block in the mountain. And you're just completely not explaining it. And you're just trying to kind of pretend that it's not there by saying it's understood without explaining how.
Right.
So that wasn't satisfactory for me because I'm like, no, I really want to understand it. I want to understand. So I went to read all the bullshit, and then I found out that they didn't understand it. And so I'm dealing with this right now with Malta. I'm going through this entire process on Malta, which is an island in the Mediterranean, where there are temples that are unlike anything found anywhere else in the world so far. I mean, they're just radically different from any. There's nothing like them anywhere, right? And all the archaeologists will admit that. They're like, yes. So these, you cannot explain these temples by saying that their provenance comes from somewhere on the mainland, because there isn't anything like this on the mainland, not even close. You know, they're unique. And so they had this idea. They've built this story of how this all worked, you know. And like, but when you dig into it, you start to see the same deceptive things that, like, somebody actually found, you know, so they were finding teeth. So there's caves on Malta that have layers of deposits from floods. And there's one specific cave that has like 5 very distinct layers. The very top layer is like the Holocene. It's the modern one, and it goes all the way back to, it's, you know, on the top edge of it has like soda cans and shit. But as you go down, it has flints and stuff or whatever, and then it ends at the at a flood that happened like 8,000 years ago or something like that. Okay, and that flood deposited a layer of clay, and then underneath that you have like the Neolithic shit. Mm-hmm. Okay, and then underneath that you have the Paleolithic. So the Neolithic is basically from the end of the last ice age at 11,000 or whatever up to about 5,000 BC when civilization started. That's Neolithic, the new Stone Age, right?
Yeah.
Paleolithic is previous to the end of the ice age, 12,000 years ago, and previous to that. So that's Paleolithic stuff. So like Paleolithic humans are not supposed to be building shit.
Right.
So Malta, with all of its megalithic temples, it's weird. Like Paleolithic means first Stone Age, but they're like, but they didn't build stone stuff. You know, well, why is it the Stone Age then? But anyway, all the megalithic...
Should be called the first butt flap age.
That's right. Right.
These butt flaps were extremely primitive.
That's right. Primitive butt flaps. So the entire concept of Malta is Neolithic, right? So they have to. So they're saying basically in their story that there were no humans ever on the island of Malta until the Neolithic period began. Previous to that, never anyone ever. Okay. So, but they ignore, and this happens every time when you start to look into this stuff. You're like, okay, so why do they think that? You start to look into things, and you find out that they shouldn't be thinking that. I'm not saying that they should think that there were Paleolithic humans there, but they shouldn't be certain that there weren't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because there's, just like on everything, there's stuff so if somebody's doing a dig in one of the temples and they're kind of like digging up all the crap that's in there to get to the floor. And in the list of things that they found, which all this shit they find or whatever, they found so in the cave, which I'll go back to that, they found teeth, 2 teeth. And you're like, okay, so like they're 2 human teeth. How big of a deal could this be? Well, number one, they have a genetic condition that I can't pronounce. I don't know how to say it, but it basically it's a back molar, and it makes it to where it has very little roots. You know, like our molars have kind of these roots things that hold them in. Well, these molars have like almost no roots, but that means they've got this large cavity in them for a tissue growth, like a root in reverse.
Yeah.
To grow up in there to hold the tooth down, right? And that's a particular genetic thing that most archaeologists and anthropologists associate with Neanderthal man, okay? That they had these fucking molars, unlike modern humans, they had these molars that they didn't have roots, they had this big thing up in there holding them down. So when you see a tooth like that has that, you think Neanderthal. Okay, but Neanderthals are like Paleolithic. First of all, they weren't in the Neolithic period.
Yeah.
You know, they were definitely Paleolithic. I mean, like early Paleolithic. They don't even say that Neanderthals extended into like middle or late Paleolithic because that's just 12,000 years ago, right? These guys are all supposed to be gone 30, 40,000 years.
Yeah.
So right off the bat, there's a problem. There are 2 Neanderthal teeth in a cave on Malta from a big flood. And by the way, the layer that they were in was the Paleolithic layer. There were shitloads of bones of the red Pleistocene deer. That is a known animal that is extinct now, that lived in the Pleistocene and was all over Europe, right? But then they crowded onto Malta because the glaciers are moving across Europe and pushing them down. And Malta was like an actual pretty cool place to be during the Ice Age because it had the water around it, was kind of normalizing it and shit. And most of the rest of Europe is covered in this wall of ice, so everything kept moving south, right? Also, the water levels were way lower, so Malta was way bigger.
Yeah.
Okay. So, hundreds and hundreds of Paleolithic red deer in there, and then they find these 2 teeth in there with the red deer that are also Paleolithic, and they're like, no, right? They don't want that to be right. So and this was in the 50s, okay? And I know I'm going on about this, but I want to go through this case because this shows you how the deceptions take place. So these teeth were found. One of them was like in the 20s, another one's in the 40s or whatever. They didn't have radiocarbon dating yet, okay? But there was this whole Piltdown Man conspiracy problem. It was a hoax. But archaeology, anthropology, science accepted the Piltdown Man for a long time. And to their credit, when some hard science came along, some chemical tests or whatever that showed that it was bullshit,
right?
They were like, all right, this is bullshit, and they got rid of it, right?
Yeah.
And it was public or whatever, which is to their credit. But the guy who specialized in that particular test that they did on the Piltdown Man stuff, and this is like it was like uranium, nitrogen, and one other thing. And basically, there are 2 things they looked for. The older the thing is, the more of it there will be in the bone.
Yeah.
And then the other thing, the nitrogen, the older it is, the less of it there will be, right? So if you look at something and it has like very little nitrogen and a lot of uranium, it's fucking old. Okay. Yeah. So if you look at the Pleistocene deer bones and get their levels, because this all happens because of environment, right? So it's different from site to site, but in the same site, you can look at bones of something. You're like, okay, we know this is a Paleolithic animal. So we can do the tests on it to see what its bones uranium level is, nitrogen level. And then if we do the tests on the bones that we're not sure about, like these teeth, and if they show up the same, then that kind of points to the idea that they belong in that strata.
Right.
They weren't intrusive. Somebody didn't bury them there or whatever. So this test was done on both of these teeth. But you can't see the results. Okay? But people who are looking for the results, they're like, well, I want to see the fucking numbers. I don't want to just read some guy saying, well, yeah, so this test was done and it was like, it showed that they were probably Neolithic. You know, they're like, well, let's see the numbers. Where are the numbers? Well, they don't exist anywhere on Malta. Turns out you have to go to the Natural History Museum of England or whatever to find the numbers, you know, and they're in this green book that they keep that's about archaeological stuff. But it's not on display. It's like down in their archives. So,
Jesus.
So one guy was able to go look at this and he found the page and he's like, first thing he noticed was like, wait, okay. Actually, the numbers for these teeth, they're not conclusive because there's like, so I think on one, the nitrogen level was high while the uranium levels were high, which is like confusing, right? Like in other words, the nitrogen should be low if the uranium's high.
Yeah.
So when they're both high, you're like,
something went wrong there.
Well, yeah, and the test nobody's ever said that it's really precise either. So when you just basically should say that that's inconclusive, but they didn't. They said it shows a Neolithic. That these were Neolithic. So he was like, okay, that's not right. And then on the other tooth, he was like looking at it and he's like, so one of these numbers was changed. Like he was looking at them really closely and he saw that it was originally 0.8. And then somebody came in later with a different pin and added 1 and a 5. So it's 1.85. Okay. God. And he's like, what? Why did that happen? And of course, that addition pushed it towards the Neolithic Again, you see the trend is always in this one direction, right?
Right.
So that guy was able to find the pages in the Green Book. He took a picture of them or whatever. But 15 or 20 years later, somebody else is looking at the problem. He's like, well, I kind of want to see this. So he goes to find the Green Book, and he's talking to the people in the museum, because you have to go through this rigmarole of talking to the people in the museum, because you have to get permission to get the book, because they have to go find it for you. So when he tells them about that, he's like, yeah, so I want to see this page. And they're like, oh, well, yeah, I'm really sorry, but that page is missing from the book now.
Jesus.
So, so it's like, well, that page, when this other guy went and took pictures of it and then wrote about what he had found, that kind of annoyed some people.
It looked bad.
Yeah, it looked bad. So somebody's like, I mean, I don't, and this is the other annoying thing, because everyone involved in this kind of thing are eminent scientists who have great reputation. You can't ever be like, dude, they fucking took the page. You can't say that. They're like, the page is missing.
Yeah.
And everybody pretends that nobody knows what the fuck that means. I mean, you're not even allowed to imply it. You can be like, so yeah, we went and the page is missing.
Yeah.
But you can't be like, so the evidence is beginning to stack up here, that first somebody fucking altered it, and then when they figured out, like, wait, they could see the difference there, and they came and took the page, right? After this guy was looking at, anyway, it continues. It turns out, when they were digging into this deeper, that the reason, okay, so one of the people that are towing the party line came out with that. They're like, well, the reason it was 0.8 and then 1.85 was because they did 2 tests on that tooth. And the second one came out with the, so it was legitimately added in there. That was adjusted. The guy's like, well, that's not an adjustment. That's a change. You just changed it. You're like, well, we like this number better.
Right. You should have had
put both in there.
You should have 2 pages in there.
Right.
One with the second test and one with the first test.
Right. And then say, so obviously this test is inconclusive, and stop using it to say it proves for Neolithic only.
Right.
Because that's what they've been doing for fucking 50 years, right? Because that's really what it comes down to, is like,
that's what you mean by the errors are always pointing into the...
Yeah, and so the people who are pointing these things out, are getting accused, like, well, so what are you trying to say? That they're like, I'm saying that you can't use this evidence as proof that it's only a Neolithic thing, which is what you guys have been doing.
So where are the teeth?
Yeah, so that's the other thing. Like, it turns out later that the reason why the second number was like so vastly different from the first one, if you look at the description written by the guy who found the original tooth, he describes it as a fully fossilized rock. Okay, well, if you go look at the fucking tooth, it's not a rock. Like, it's just a tooth. It's not a fossil.
Yeah.
And the guy who found the original one was like a very respected eminent scientist. So you can't be like, well, he just didn't know what he was talking about. Like, so they can't say that, right? Because he described it very clearly. Like, this is a bone that has been turned into fucking rock. But the actual tooth they have now that's labeled as that tooth is not a fossil. And furthermore, like, all the details are, but the particular genetic condition it has is very, very slight. It's minute. Okay. Which is like, so there are modern humans that sometimes have this tendency for their teeth, but when you compare them to like the teeth that came from the actual Neanderthals, you're like, man, that's not even really, that isn't even really the same thing. You can see that it's sort of the same, but the Neanderthal teeth are like, it isn't a genetic deficiency. That's how they were, right? Yeah. They were fucking like that. Whereas in modern humans, it's kind of a throwback or genetic defect when the teeth are like that. So they're wobbly, and so that's what this looks like, is a modern human tooth that kind of has that kind of condition.
Yeah.
Like, so somebody's being fucking sneaky, okay, right? They're like, nobody will notice this because no pictures have been taken of this tooth, right? And then somebody finds a description. So that's the reason why the numbers are large, whereas they were small before. Because if it is a modern tooth, there should be a lot of whatever it was, as opposed to a little, right? The nitrogen or whatever. So that's not just kind of like just ignoring evidence that you don't like. That's active deception.
Yeah.
That's tampering with evidence.
Yeah.
Okay. The other thing about this whole debate on Malta is like there was a bison bull on the walls in the hypogeum. So the hypogeum has shit painted all over the place. Red ochre and the signature. It was 2 signature things of Paleolithic people that they would put their hand on the wall and blow the red ochre paint on there and leave handprints everywhere. The handprints are 6-fingered, by the way, and it's not polydactyly. Like, you can tell that hand is supposed to have 6 fingers, and it's huge. It's a big fucking hand with 6 fingers.
Holy shit.
And they're like, well, the artist was just, kind of like whatever they say. Like, it's not a real hand. It's just whatever they think it was. Okay. So when you go to France, the Chauvet Cave, these famous like Paleolithic art, cave art, the ones that are like locked away for fucking all the time except for 2 weeks out of the year. And they let a couple scientists go in there to look and take pictures or whatever. They don't let people go. They don't let tourists go in because they don't want to destroy it because it's like this beautiful work of art, which is fine. But they are known to be 30,000, 40,000 years old. And guess what they used? Red ochre and this black, I can't remember what it is, but that's all they used. This black shit and the red ochre paint, and they put the hands everywhere, and they drew giant, massive, badass bison bulls, which are extinct now, and were Paleolithic creatures. So there's a huge black bison bull on one of the walls in the hypogeum, and that just doesn't work. It doesn't fit the model because that's a Paleolithic thing to draw.
Right.
Neolithic people didn't even know about them because unless they had found a Paleolithic cave and they'd just been like, that ain't a bull. It's weird looking,
Yeah, let's go draw one in our cave.
Yeah. So the bison bull painting is still in the hypogeum, but it's so faint that no one notices it. And the reason it's so faint is because somebody scrubbed it somebody tried to erase it off the wall.
How do you know that?
Well, the people who were involved in doing all this, looking at all this shit, right? One of them figured out, like, wait a minute, there was a bison bull painting in there? And so he went down there and like he had to, first of all, the hypogeum's underground and it's dark and they don't have a lot of lighting. So you have to really fucking look. And he was like, yeah, there is traces, like little bits of this black paint stuff remaining here. And then like, so with a lot of work, he was able to say, yeah, it is a bison bull drawing, but you can't fucking see it, right? But the early archaeologists are describing it. They're like, yeah, it's clearly there. So,
okay.
So he's like, so in between then and now, it's almost disappeared, right? Some people are like, yeah, well, so because so many tourists are going in and out of there or whatever, but that's not a good explanation because it didn't destroy any of the other paintings, right? Why did just the bison bull disappear? Again, pointing only in one direction, the evidence, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So this guy who was doing this, he basically he straight up accused and he did it for good reasons. Like, I can't remember exactly what the provenance was, but he basically said the director of the Museum of Malta at the time instructed somebody to go erase it.
Holy shit.
And like so of course that caused all these controversies or whatever, but the people in the museum have never addressed it. Like they did the whole thing, like just ignore it.
Yeah.
And people have, people have contacted them and said, like, so what is your response to this controversy? And they still don't answer, which is like, it isn't proof of anything, but it's really weird.
Yeah.
I mean, like at the least they could just be like, we would do no such thing. They just don't say anything.
Silence method works.
Right. Just not address it at all.
Yeah.
But to anyone who's really interested in these subjects, that looks suspicious. You're like, why don't they even say we didn't do that? They just say nothing. And like, obviously they want to sort of present the idea that like, this is such a small concern that we don't even need to address it. But I'm like, well, it's easy to be like, nah, we didn't do that. Man, just getting started. Yeah, we got to take another break.
Yeah. We're going to go 30 minutes over this time. Next break.
Oh, yeah, that's a future prediction. That's good.
Well, we've already done 2 hours, and if we're going to do one more.
One more 2 hours?
One more 2 hours. One more segment.
Yeah, we'll be back, folks, and we will try to finish this out. Snake talk.
Bunch of freaking snakes.
Snake backs.
We're back. Brothers of the Serpent podcast. Snake Bros. Snakes. Finishing up a fourth segment extending into the third hour. But it's been a good one. Enjoying every minute of it.
Oh, yeah.
And we were talking about Malta and lies and deception and amazing shit as well.
Yeah. So I've kind of described the main points of evidence that have been really tampered with that I wanted to discuss. But there's a bunch of other things. First of all, everything that's found in these temples, the paint, because they're painted on the insides, they are all, in any other context, they would call this Paleolithic painting. It's red ochre and it's black stuff. And that's what was used in all, like Chauvet Cave in France and everything. That's what they used exclusively. They used the red stuff and would put hands and everything, and then they would draw animals in this black, like I think of it as like the grease pencil. Looks like black grease pencil.
Yeah.
But on Malta, it's Neolithic. That's just what they say,
Right.
Even though it's Paleolithic everywhere else.
Right.
Also on Malta is found everywhere are little sculptures and sometimes colossal statues of something called the Mother Goddess, which is this like massively fat, like humongously fat female figure. And she's either like in the Hypogeum, they found ones of her reclining on some kind of couch or some kind of, divan or whatever. And she's like laying there. She's got a skirt on, but she's just like hugely fat. And it's associated with it. They've built this whole story, even though there's no writing. Okay, so you have to keep in mind that we're talking about cultures in which supposedly we had not found any kind of writing for. Okay, so they say that there was no writing, but nevertheless, they have made up this entire story around the quote unquote Mother Goddess, which they don't even know if she was a goddess or whatever. But so they worship her, and that's what these temples are for, and that's what all this stuff, And so the reason the temples on Malta are rounded, like every temple on Malta looks like if you look down at a floor plan or whatever, it looks like sets of kidneys or like a womb. It's womb-like, round. There's no sharp lines, straight lines like are associated with temples everywhere else. Well, I guess Stonehenge stuff is, there will be round things or whatever, but these aren't considered to be astronomical, okay? Even though they are. Like, there are ones where if you go there and you're at the solstice or whatever, it'll make these beautiful sun figures on specific stones behind you.
That's badass.
It makes these flags. They look like flags. Just like shining in light or whatever. So anyway, but they're not astronomical. So, these are wombs or whatever. And, but it's all Neolithic, even though everything there looks Paleolithic.
Yeah.
So the temples themselves are constructed out of like literally raw megaliths. Like there's in some cases you can see that they smooth things out or whatever, but like in the Hypogeum, they definitely used probably chisels or something to cut it out, right? But on the above ground temples, especially the largely megalithic exterior wall, which is sort of an enclosure wall, will just be. I mean, it looks like they went and just ripped gigantic slabs of limestone out of the ground and then took them as they were with no cleaning up whatsoever, and just started standing them up. And it makes this really badass effect. Like some of them are curved and bent weird, and then they put that next to one that's kind of squarish but not really, and it's just like I don't know.
They fit together really badass.
And and they're still standing, And Malta's like in the Mediterranean, which is like, it's not volcanic, but it's tectonically active. Okay, the entire island is tilting, a couple of meters a year or whatever. So like on one side, these straight cliffs just come up out of the ocean, 300 feet. And then on the other side, the land just slopes down into the water because the whole thing is tilting slowly.
So are all the actual walls tilted and everything like they, or what was this built after this?
Well, the idea is, I mean, like I don't know, the geological context of it is slow, but nevertheless, the entire temple building culture, which by the way appears with no provenance, okay?
Yeah.
Like there's no, they like so many other sites, they're like looking for the first ones they want to find when they were first learning how to build megaliths and they were using little megaliths, right? Doesn't happen.
Little megaliths.
Yeah. Small megaliths, right?
Right.
So they're looking for that. And what they find is like mud brick stuff. Some like rudimentary constructions of mud brick, and then bam, the first temple, which is called, I mean, I can't pronounce it. It looks like Gigantiga or whatever, but what it means is Tower of the Giants. Okay, and if you read the original,
yeah,
if you read the original archaeologists, they thought it was built by giants. They're like, but this is in 14th, 16th, 17th century.
Yeah.
You know, they're like, yeah, so only possibility of this is giants. We're coming over here and just like ripping giant things out of the ground and standing them up. But anyway, that temple just shows up fully formed. I mean, it's badass. It's one of the best ones, you know, like one of the best constructed, most difficult to have made. It's huge. It has the biggest megaliths, and it's the oldest one. And it just, you know, just like, so people were like mud bricking around, and then one day this guy was like, man, let's just use gigantic fucking blocks and build this badass thing. And they did that, and then they got worse after that because it was too hard. I don't know, you know, the story is ridiculous.
Yeah.
So it's one of the deals where you look at it and you say, where's the trial and error? Where's the learning process? It doesn't exist.
Well, if we keep digging down, we'll find it, and then they find bigger and bigger and bigger shit.
Yeah. So and Malta's tiny. Okay, I mean it's a small island, so they found all the temples. Now there might be more hypogeum type things, and I actually found out that there is a second one that's just as extensive as the first one, and it's pretty close to where the first one is. They went in there and did a bunch of weird stuff, and then sealed it off forever and put a graveyard on top of it. So like you can't even go. Yeah, and they're like, yeah, but it was, you know, exactly. It's pretty much the other one's the same. You don't need to see it. It's ridiculous. Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
And by the way, most of the evidence of the hypogeum itself disappeared. It was a Jesuit that did the original work. He pulled all the dirt with all the skeletons. There's 7,000 long heads in there. Pulled all that stuff out, and then the Catholic Church was like, "Hey, we need you to go to like this place over here on the other side of the world." And he sailed off and disappeared, and all of his work disappeared. All the papers are gone.
Oh my god!
So the bones were still on Malta, but today, as we said before when we were talking about this, there's like 6 or maybe 4 of those skulls left out of 7,000. The bones of 7,000 people, there are like 4 skulls left. God. And everyone's like, what? I have no idea. And everyone acts like no one knows what happened. And no one accuses anybody of like, how did you fucking lose 7,000 skeletons? Nobody says all this. They just announce that they're gone, and everybody's supposed to pretend that there's no shady things happening here.
Yeah.
Because everyone involved is an eminent scientist or eminent museum curator, and you can't accuse those guys of having done anything, even though they fucking clearly did, right? They lost all of it, and all the evidence is confused, and they have been misconstruing things and being deceptive the whole time to maintain this Neolithic story, which is ridiculous when you just look at the evidence and say like everything looks Paleolithic.
Yeah.
The Mother Goddess is a Paleolithic figure. The bison bull is a Paleolithic animal. The red ochre and the fucking black paint is Paleolithic. But on Malta, it's not.
Yeah.
So, anyway, there's a whole bunch of other stuff, but I probably don't have time to get into all the details. But seriously, folks, if you're interested in this, Graham Hancock wrote a book called Underworld. It's all detailed in there. Like, he meticulously goes through every point, that's what I'm referencing in my mind as I explain all this stuff. So, if you really want to get the full effect of the deception, get yourself a copy of Underworld because it's badass.
That's badass. There's another thing too that is time and time again this happens. I've noticed it, and then reading Graham Hancock and stuff, he's noticed it, and then these other guys like what's the dude's name that Forbidden Secrets? The guy.
Oh, Maxwell Egan.
Yeah. He's talking about it. Michael Cremo is talking about it. So you have the standard model in the archaeological record and all this kind of shit. And there's all these big gaping holes, and everyone's trying to figure it out. And then if you actually start to do research and look at all of these other things that we're talking about, outliers, quote unquote, and all this other evidence of things that don't fit into that model, it starts to make sense on its own. Like, it stands on its own. Like, you can start to kind of construct like this idea, but at the same time, the ancient texts line up with all of these other artifacts that are being disregarded. Okay.
Right.
But
we know that the ancient texts are just made up.
Right. According to the standard model, the ancient texts are myths.
Yeah.
Right. And all of these other things are outliers and don't matter, and they're not,
right.
Not.
But when you put them all together, you're like, wow.
And so this case with Malta was sort of the same, and this may be a stretch, but
I don't think so.
I was reading at the time Russ first brought this up to me. I was reading the Legends of the Jews, and in there is a story about Solomon's life and his whole. So he's the guy who.
And by the way, the Legends of the Jews is a legitimate, like, apocryphal text.
Yes. Yes.
So it's not just. It is an ancient, legitimate text.
Right.
Yeah.
Solomon is the guy who he gains favor with God, and God offers him anything that he would wish. Like, you can have whatever you want, and he chooses wisdom. And so God's
like, oh my God, that's so smart. And he gives him everything.
yeah, wow, you're really smart. and Solomon's thing was like, if I have wisdom, then everything else will follow.
Yeah.
You know, I don't need things. So he gets wisdom, and along with that, like in the Legend of the Jews, God gives him this ring, which gives him the ability to summon and control the demons.
Right.
And the demons are these beings that live on Earth, and they're giant and they're badass, and they have all these, amazing
They're
abilities.
like
or whatever.
daemons in the Greek sense, like.
Yeah. So
Nature gods.
he summons them all, and they have all this ancient knowledge and all this other shit that he starts getting from them. Anyway, he uses the demons to build the temple.
Right.
Right. And one of the things it describes is like he gets this one guy who's just like this really nasty, evil demon. And he forces him to just go out into the ocean and start bringing massive slabs of stone to build the temple. And this demon can do this without using iron tools and all this kind of shit.
Right, which is one of the strictures of building the temple.
Right.
No iron tools can touch the stone.
So this demon is like just walking into the ocean and then coming out with some massive freaking stone, starts setting them up. It's freaking crazy, dude, the story.
And it's hating him the whole time.
Yeah, it's all pissed off at him. And he's just like, yeah, you're doing what I say, bitch.
Yeah.
Anyway, he goes through all this crazy shit. Well, after he's done all this stuff, like he's got these daughters, and his most beautiful daughter, he's able to read the future in the stars, of course, right?
Yeah, like Flagetanus at the Grail.
Yeah, so he sees in the stars that she is going to marry some poor boy, right? And he's like, no way, not my freaking hottest daughter. So he has one of these demons build this massive tower out in the middle of the sea, far away from everything.
She's like the original Rapunzel or whatever.
Yeah, and he sends her out there to live in the tower, and he sends 70 eunuchs
Right.
to live with her, to watch over her, and then all this food and
72?
70, but 72, but still 7,000 skeletons.
That's true, yeah.
It's just weird. Anyway, so she's living out on this freaking massive stone tower that just rises up out of the ocean somewhere with these 70 eunuchs or whatever, and then some nephas, right? Some of the angels like Michael and whatever, like go in there and check on her from time to time.
Nephas.
Yeah, and in the story, there's this poor boy, and he's out in the fields doing something, and he gets stranded. And it's like nightfall's coming, and it's getting really freaking cold, and he's like, he can't get back, and he finds the carcass of this ox, and he climbs inside it. And after he does that,
This looks like a good bed.
yeah,
I'll
this
sleep
massive bird comes down and picks up the freaking ox and like takes it off, flies it off somewhere. And where does it land but the top of the tower to eat its meal? And he climbs out of it and gets away from this bird thing and ends up like passing out up there. And so next day the princess or whatever comes up on the roof and finds him and is like,
oh
who
my
the hell
God,
are you?
what are
Like,
you doing here?
yeah. Oh, well, long story. Wow, you're hot.
How did you get here? Did you come in an ox too?
Yeah.
No, demons brought me. Oh.
So she stows him away in there, and they get to know each other, and she falls in love with him, and then they end up getting married. Basically, like the archangel Michael and some other angel are like, yeah,
totally
sure,
officiating at it, and Solomon's like,
Yeah.
God damn it, guys, what the
But they do this blood ritual thing where like he cuts himself and there's blood, and so you're talking about like there's like this red paint on the wall with these 6-fingered hands all over it.
Yep.
The eunuchs eventually find out that she's pregnant, and then they discover the whole conspiracy. And so they have to tell Solomon, and he's like, he ends up meeting the dude, and he's like, oh, you're actually badass.
Yeah, you're pretty
so
cool.
like,
You're kind of shorter than I thought.
he's
but
like,
pretty
cool, and he's like, praise God, he's cool. But that was the end of that. Like,
That's one of those classic ancient stories about fate and destiny.
yeah,
To me, I see the fate and
Yeah,
destiny
yeah,
like
yeah.
that, that you can change your fate but you can't change your destiny.
Yeah.
You know, there's a destined thing that will happen no matter what, and everything you fucking do to try to change it just leads to it.
Yeah.
Because it cannot be changed, but you can change the fate. Like, and so they always have those stories where somebody's like, no, they get a foretelling of their destiny or whatever. They're like, nope, no, I will not allow this to happen. And they do all this shit, and that makes it happen.
Right.
It's classic.
Yeah, but that just like the way you describe the whole Malta thing, like it just looks like they picked up these massive slabs of limestone and like I'm imagining this freaking pissed off demon just pulling him out of the freaking ocean and standing him up there like build this freaking tower for your hot daughter.
Yeah, well, and Maltese Island itself may be the tower rising out of the ocean because, like I said,
that's what I'm saying too. Like
the cliffs just.
But of course, they had to build her a living space.
Yeah, and the oldest temple is called the Tower of the Giants.
Right. That's freaking badass.
Yeah.
And there's like long heads, freaking skulls and shit found in there.
It's just the long heads are eunuchs.
Well, I mean, Solomon could have seen to that.
But yeah. You can't go watch over his hottest daughter if you're not a eunuch.
But Michael was there.
Yeah. Michael's like, I wasn't doing nothing.
Anyway, I just like Russ comes and tells me this story. I was just like, I was wondering where this massive freaking tower rising out of it. We should be able to find this, right?
Yeah.
There it is.
Yep. It is an excellent explanation because the temple culture, the quote unquote temple building culture, just vanishes. Just like they show up and build everything and they're all badass and then they just stop and they disappear.
Right. So Solomon, okay, like there's been other ideas
the hot
about
daughter was like that giant fat thing.
There's been these other ideas about the legends of the Jews where the people that wrote them like attributed, say, Solomon to these deeds that all these people had done, you know, so they sort of make a single character.
Right, like they did with the gods. It's like all these beings are like, nah, it's just one guy.
Right. But still, it's it's the idea of this great wisdom.
Yeah.
Right? So you can imagine that maybe Solomon is the idea behind this culture.
Okay.
Right, that had the wisdom for
all
this
yes.
time.
So this unknown ancient.
Right. So he's said to have built after he gets the power over all the demons and all this shit. Like he builds the temple, but he also builds like these massive cities. And one of his cities, like he's also the guy that's flying around on flying carpets and shit.
Yeah, flying carpets.
He's Aladdin. He built this massive city that I can't remember what the size of it is, but it's like
that was Shambhala, right?
Massive, miles and miles. The whole thing was on this tapestry, and instead of like when he wanted to go on vacation, the whole thing just went.
Yeah.
He would just like the whole freaking thing would move somewhere, and so there were, you know, when he needed fresh water, it was just like send the demons to go bring it, so he could put the city anywhere.
Yeah.
And there's all this weird shit. So it's like you can imagine many different things, but the demons being synonymous with powers of the universe or powers of technology,
Daemons.
right?
Yeah.
Like technology. What is technology? Technology is just the knowledge of how the fucking universe works.
Right. The utilization
of that.
of these forces
of understanding the way it works. So right. So I don't know. I think about it in many different ways, but this one idea is pretty cool to me. That
so the ring of Solomon could be like the great wheel. It could be because I always say that the ring is a symbol of something.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not a ring you put on your finger. It's something else.
Right, and then the seals of Solomon are all circles.
Yeah. Right.
Like this is where
magic seals were the rings. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. This is where magic, like the circle in magical things. Yeah. You paint the circle and you put all the sign, and like Solomon's seals are all these circular things that have all these strange. They kind of look like the Feynman diagrams. You know, they're just fucking weird.
Yeah.
But it's just cool to think about that as an entire culture, or a line of progression of humans and whatever beings were alive at the time.
Yeah.
Nephas, all of the above that were part of this culture that went all over the world and built crazy shit everywhere. But they were also, like, Solomon was also seeking ancient knowledge at the same time.
The story of the shamir, yeah.
Yeah, he was trying to find the shamir, which is this tool that is able to just move through stone like butter, and you can manipulate stone in any way.
Yeah, it was called the finger of God.
Yeah. And he goes,
hilarious. You're reading the Bible. It's like it was written on the wall by the finger of God, and people are like, "Whoa!" And you're like, "No, it was a tool, dude."
The shamir,
finger of God.
But he like he goes to these sources for the knowledge, and the first source he goes to is Asmodeus, who's like this really ancient being.
Yeah.
Asmodeus is like, oh shit, that's before my time. You got to go talk to this bird.
Yeah.
So
Asmodeus is like one of the classic demon names too.
Yeah, Asmodeus he's the leader of the demons.
Oh, I thought that was Shimjaza.
No, well, not in this story.
Oh, okay.
Asmodeus is like the guy. Like he's the first dude.
Same dude. Yeah, same guy.
So Asmodeus is like, that's way before my time. And so he sends him to this bird, and the bird is like so many 1,000 years old or whatever it is. This bird's far more ancient, and he asks him, and that guy's like, no. Oh, no, you're going to have to talk to my brother.
Yeah.
Way before me. He's like way older. So he does this like 3 times and talks to all 3 of these birds are related. But each one is way older than the one before that he goes to.
Yeah. So the first one's a demon. The other ones are
They're these eagles.
right.
But it's like
Sky beings.
It's like you can look at it like he's going to ancient sources, and he finds one ancient source, and it gives him this idea of a further ancient source.
Oh, okay.
And he keeps going back to find and finally the third bird tells him like, oh yeah, like that was before my time.
But I remember something.
But there was something about this massive temple that is now covered in the sands of the desert that's out there somewhere that has in it the Shamir. So he starts going all through the desert to try to find this thing, and he finally finds this crazy massive construction like barely sticking out of the sand.
Yeah.
And he uncovers it all, and he like finds this freaking door in it, and he goes in there. Sphinx.
Yep.
Anyone? Pyramid. You know, it's just like, holy shit.
Yeah. It sounds like him finding the Zeptepi stuff,
Yeah.
right? Like
first
he's-
time, yeah.
He's discovering ancient constructions hidden in which is an ancient technology.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
Yep.
freaking badass, dude.
But it's all bullshit.
Oh yeah, it's just myth.
Yeah, it's just legends. And
But there is so much stuff in there, like in that story, and I'm gonna have to go back over it now with these eyes because it's just full of all these little stories, and there's so much symbolism that
yeah.
like after reading all these different books from people doing all of this research, like Graham Hancock from all over it, and kind of lining up all these tales of like Viracocha and their deeds.
Yeah.
Like you go back through that story, the Legend of the Jews, Solomon's whole thing, like the temple that he builds, the throne, all the different symbols of the animals involved in the throne is like the zodiac.
Yeah. Right.
It's crazy shit.
We've gained understanding of these symbols. And so when you go back to read it, because like the first time I read it, I'm like, okay, so like he's talking to he goes to a demon and then he's talking to birds. And it does sound like a fairy tale.
Yeah.
Right? So yeah, you like, no, I don't know, go talk to this bird. And like you go talk to the bird because the bird can talk. And,
Yeah.
But then when you understand and you go back, you're like, oh, okay, that bird is like it's something else.
That just gave me another idea. Like one of the first things he gains is the ability to speak and converse with animals.
Yeah. And it was
So
the
it's-
language of the birds.
Yeah.
As a
So
language.
so that like in the sort of technology idea, it's what we're doing with evolution and shit. We're trying to understand like how
Yeah.
these animals all came about, and what we study all their traits and everything that they do, and then see what the fuck's
Right. So then when you look at him, you're like, oh, okay, I know what he's doing there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's the language. So that idea is that like he figures it out. Like he gets the understanding of like where all this shit came from and how it all came to be in some way.
So so they sort of you're suggesting that this story is a description of a progression of some kind of science.
Yes, in a cultural advancement,
Like
in
couched
science.
in a like, so then he went to talk to this guy and he went to talk to that guy.
Yes.
Like in a sort of a fairy tale like story. Like he wanted to find this treasure and so he went to talk to these people.
He talked to the ant, and the ant told him, "Oh, well, from blah, 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 I was down in the underground, and this and that happens." And he's like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah.
And then he,
it's like the very first thing you have to do if you're going to do any kind of legend like this is like animals got to talk.
yeah,
Right? The animals have to talk. So like you have to start with that. Narnia, right?
But that's an interesting idea too. That the language that they're all speaking to us.
Yeah.
They're everything that when you sit there and observe an animal and all of its behavior scientifically,
Yeah.
you begin to understand something about the creature and all of the creatures like it, and they're telling you something about the environment. Why is the bird freaking like? Why is it pecking at its own feathers or whatever?
Yeah.
And if you really start to look into that, you'll find out. Well, there's this little mite
Yeah.
that's like, walking around all over the bird, and that mite's doing this and that to the bird, and the bird's like, just like pecking at that, and then you start looking at that mite, and what does it do? And it's causing this thing to happen and that thing to happen, and then
and the next thing you know, you're Elton John. The circle of life. And it's what? A circle.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's pretty badass, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, so The Legend of the Jews, folks, read it. Because, I mean, it's just, I mean, even if nothing else, it's highly entertaining.
It is. It's freaking badass.
You're just like, wow, this is badass. I want to go look for a fucking chimera.
And if you don't want to read it, get Voice Aloud Reader on the Google Play Store and just import the text.
Yeah. Seriously, I couldn't believe you went through for Forbidden Archaeology that fast. I was like, you were like, I'm done with that. I was like, what?
Yeah.
Because like that book took me a long time to read because
I think 2 or 3 days I was done.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, it felt like I was reading it all the time when I was reading it, but it took at least a week because I kept like, I'm like, wait a minute. Okay. So what? Because I don't know. It just,
But I was also doing work at the time.
Yeah.
That I didn't have to think. I was burning shit.
Right.
I was like burning massive piles of trees and creating shitloads of CO2. And I was just like, oh, this is badass.
Yeah.
And it's going to be great for the plants and the trees on the freaking orchard. And so I didn't really have to think much. Just drive around in the machine, push stuff, start fires.
Yeah, didn't have to think much, folks. Just set giant fires and
yeah. So I was listening to that book freaking all day from getting up in the once I got in my car, I just started it and it was all day long.
Yeah, and it's like the deceptions in that. Like
oh my God.
The stuff where he like the USGS guy, the USGS dude of California collects all those samples from all the different mines, right? And like he goes and gets the context and collects them, and like and then after he retires, he publishes this paper, and like the evolutionists flip out on him.
Yeah.
And they're like, if you would understood the evolutionary story as what science understands
you would
it
never
now,
have published
never have published that paper. And I'm like, no, if you understood science, you would not be a scientist. Because you're not a scientist. Yeah. Fucking liars.
Yeah. I need to fucking snake bite them.
Yeah. And that's what this podcast is about. That's what the name of the podcast is about. Brotherhood of the Serpent was started because of this kind of thing. And then it was infiltrated by these people.
By the liars.
Yeah. So
bringing it back, folks.
that's right.
Bringing it back to the real.
that this branch of the Brotherhood.
Real, y'all.
That's right. Old school.
Yeah. We're putting on our primitive butt flaps.
That's right. That's right. So
snake flaps.
Snake flaps. Whoa. Snakeskin butt flaps.
Hell yes.
Hell yes. We gotta have them. So I at the end of every show, I usually will give the website. You can go to brothersoftheserpent.blogspot.com to comment. You can email us at brothersoftheserpent@gmail.com. But I also want to add, like, we're trying to figure out ways to sort of expand the listenership, right? I totally suck at marketing.
Me too.
And Kyle's not good at it either. So anyone who wants to help with that, totally contact us if you guys have any ideas. But the other thing you can do, you can go on iTunes. If you listen to the show, you can go on iTunes and give us a good rating, type in a little fucking description or whatever, right? So like that really helps because like it's in iTunes, but because we suck at marketing, there's no way, they won't find it. But if they're just searching for paranormal podcasts and they want to say like, I want one that has lots of 5-star reviews, and you guys like, I'll go in there and give it 5-star reviews, and then it'll come up. So that's what I'm saying. Like, go give us good reviews right now. But just like with anything, just a 5-star review, like a 5-star review and nothing else is not as good as like, you can just type in something like, this is great. They're funny, and they don't know anything, but it's funny.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to type, just, that would really help us out. And give people a reason if they come across it to say like, maybe I'll check this out because these people have said interesting things about it. So yeah, so go to iTunes, give it reviews. That would be great.
We're not doing fake ones. With
You'll
fake
notice if you go
accounts.
check that there are 0 reviews.
Yeah. We're not creating shitloads of fake accounts to go put fake reviews up there.
Right. That's what the other side would do. because they're deceptive.
That's right.
Yeah, so we don't do that. So if you guys could do that, that would help us out. And
And if you don't want to do that, don't do it.
yeah, don't do it. But don't ever talk to us again.
But thanks a lot for listening, folks.
Yep.
We appreciate it.
And thanks to Laura for the intros. They're always badass. We need to use more of them. And Aetherm Studios, AWAX Productions, Smithsonic Studios, plus more. And all of you listeners out there, thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
Yep. Good night,
Snake, thanks.
Damu. Get back to work.